competition. 14 eliminations, game number 1. I don't know where he finished off because Stable Ronaldo killed his dream in game number 2. But Z-Smith controlling Factory, controlling that water edge, Seymour. He was playing this area and teams were starting to learn, I've got to respect this guy.
It's kind of one thing you have to think about Resurgence in general, and a lot of teams seem to be avoiding prison towards the latter end of these maps, trying to play towards the outside, towards those waters, having those exit plans, make sure you're not caught rotating into these buildings. And I think that's where Z-Smith has just proved himself to be an absolute menace with his guns. He's just playing in the right spot, isolating so many gunfights, using the pressure that's put on from those middle players inside prison to kind of funnel his enemies into these one-on-ones where he's just so confident just to continue racking up those points. And I think that's going to be a big talking point across the day to see if he is going to continue on that pace every single time we see him.
Just one point I wanted to add out is the baiting of the C4. Like,
yes.
how genius was that? I can't remember who exactly it was, but in game number 1, just utilizing that.
Right?
Yeah, hard Trevs, that's right. Utilizing that, big brain plays coming from the old Z-Smith.
And Z-Smith, from what I'm hearing, confirmed he is at the top of the leaderboard. There was a lot of questions. Where would he stand? I don't know the exact number, but we do know that he's currently leading, and no surprise after 14 eliminations from game number 1, and then what, a 4th, 5th place finish in game number 2?
Yeah.
Hey, he's on top.
And I mean, even in the CDLR, when we saw this Twisted Minds team come together, they placed 3rd place towards the end of the CDLR. So we know in Resurgence, like all together, these guys have experience playing towards the top.
Yeah, you know what's funny as well? It's all we've been talking about with Twisted Minds is Knight, right? Knight being on this team. Obviously, you know, Aiden and Smith are incredible players, but our entire conversation point has been around the additional Knight. I know we haven't seen Knight yet, but it's nice to know, hey, the entire squad's got it going.
Entire squad, man, is just tearing it up. They're a scary team, I mean, to say it simply. And this is exciting, though. You know, the good thing about today, though, is nobody's eliminated, right? We're so used to, like, the day one, like, oh, this team's been eliminated, or this team. No, like, it's a hard reset starting into group stages tomorrow, minus your seeding, of course. You want to try and get as many eliminations as you can so you can get as many points, so you can have a better seeding, whether it be Group A, B, or C. You want to make top 14, obviously, from day 3 going into day 4. But at this point, it's early goings. Again, getting those jitters out and just learning how to play, I think, you know, Rebirth again, which you never know, like, how much grinding they've been doing. Actually, there was one team that actually boot camped coming into this.
Yeah, it was Fnatic. We're going, you know, we talked about having them a little bit of a coach to walk them through all their plays. They were sitting down over in London at Fnatic headquarters talking about how much this organization has taken care of them. And that kind of adds on to the storyline of this Fnatic team on how they haven't really been clicking in tournaments in the past and how they've still had some communication issues to work out, still had some plays to kind of make them find that championship form. And, you know, I don't think we've totally seen it come together right now, but I think that over time this weekend, that's going to be a big thing to watch out for.
Big thing indeed. Well, I think it's time to hear from our top leader at the moment, Z-Smith. Let's hear what he had to say.
What's up, guys? I got Z-Smith here, the top fragger from our opening round of the group stages, the seeding stages. And you said something special right when you came down here. I'm feeling good today. I like it when the rest of the crew is uncomfortable. How's that working out?
I mean, honestly, I was just challenging everything. I was making sure that, you know, I was able to win my gunfight. I was smoking off my back. And I was just pushing everything, and it worked to my advantage because a lot of people looked real nervous out there, and I just used that to my best ability.
Now, I got a chance to talk with your teammate Knight backstage. He said, I am the Rebirth janitor. Talk to me about teaming with this guy and your expectations as he takes the stage next.
Oh, I expect nothing less out of him. I think he might do better than I did out there. We've played together for so long. We played all the Resurgence tournaments. He's a phenomenal player, and I think he's going to do really good out there.
Now, there's a pretty cool factor in here. If you win the game, you get a 2x multiplier, right? And that drops down all the way down to 5th, 6th. So what's your strategy coming in here? Are you just trying to frag out most kills you can possibly drop, or are you also trying to go for the dub?
I'm definitely not playing for the win. I'm trying to get all the kills first and then just play my game and hopefully make it to endgame. I think I got eliminated in 12th, map 1, but then made it all the way to 4th place in map 2.
Final question for you. Who is the easiest one to kill?
Ooh. Honestly, I gotta say Huskers. He's swiping the desk.
Huskers! Old man just got a ring on. I love it, though. He'll be back. Don't you worry when it comes to trios. That's it for us. Back to you guys.
All right, so Huskers the easiest elimination apparently. That hurts my soul. They call him the old man Huskers, but he is on that redemption arc, so he has said. And well, he is at least going to be looking good, I'm sure, going into day 2 and day 3. I liked his answers though, and more specifically to go to you, Dream, because previous competitor, the first field to go professional, right, pre-CDL, like you've done a lot in your life. You understand what it is to play on the main stage. When it comes to me, I looked around, there's a lot of people that are nervous. He was like a shark hunting his prey. He saw that nervousness and he capitalized.
Yeah, absolutely. And it went, again, like, even, I don't know if Hisoka was trolling in his interview when he said, I'm nervous, but maybe being humble, but regardless, that the first 2 drops, yes, kind of feeling themselves, but players will be a little bit nervous. But as we move out, like, I'm just like, for instance, Jay, right? Yep. They just got that win, but for his squad, I think just like as a momentum team, it's only going to carry them further. So you got to figure, okay, maybe some of these teams might seem nervous, but they're really just trying to get their footing, trying to figure out what to do, what strategies to implement. But as we keep going on, I just think, again, it will be a different story.
I think it will be. Z Smith, though, again, incredible. Stable J taking that win is just like, that's a Cinderella story, and doing it in front of his brother, which I know means a lot. I had a chance to talk to them, and I know it meant a lot having those 2 teams exploring the world and coming toward Warzone, right, which is highly impactful. Well, that's 2 games down. We've got more to go. Don't you worry. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more games coming your way.
Too.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We got a big crew up here, and I tell you what, we're having a great time. There's nothing wrong with having more people to have a little bit of fun, right? And there's nothing wrong with more groups, okay? Group C about to come up and play against Group A. And that's an interesting point because now we're seeing some fresh players go against, well, the top dogs we just saw.
Yeah, and the one I want to point out, I mean, it was already there, so we got to talk about it, right? Knight is coming to play. This is one of our big talking points before we get into the day. The fact that he's coming in here as the rebirth janitor, right? I think that was what Puckett was saying, right?
Right.
I mean, how much damage is he going to do? Is he going to live up to that for the squad? Certainly Smith's already done it, so surely he has to follow suit now.
I would say so. Z Smith set a high bar. Like, that's my big thing. Set the bar of what can be done. Now, the question is anybody going to exceed that bar? And I think so. They just got to be able to capitalize on everything. Factory seems to be one of the best places to go. I think for me, and like I said, I love the Land Factory. For me, that seems to be the most competitive location. I know there are some that do like control. Hisoka was one of those teams going to, or actually Stronghold, I apologize, going Stronghold. Cars over there, eventually running into Biffle. There are strong places on the map, but because things now started to get a bit centralized over at Prison, I'm curious if that starts to switch things up. Like, is the edge going to be where everybody decides to go? Will we start seeing players be pushed centralized?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I just want to say though, if Knight does win, I am going to just do, you know, I'm going to.
You're going to sweep them up?
Yeah. Can we just find a broom or something?
Like a janitor.
Sweep the floor, like a janitor. But no, to make your point, yeah, but that's the thing, like, as you'd mentioned, where teams will go kind of like switch it up, but Prison playing so centralized, it's just like you are at risk. You are at risk. You can see so much. There is a lot of places, you know, you have so many levels in Prison to dodge even, but playing that on top of Prison, you have to be careful. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I'm really excited to see this next group go off.
I'm as well, especially if we get to see more incredible plays like Intense, right, from Jukes with that double down and then ultimately get it finished. That double down, again, had me on the edge of my seat because it's like, oh, dude, Infinity, you got the double down. You're racing to get the finishes. Now the self-revive is coming up, and it's just like, oh, things start to get a bit nerve-wracking. But from what I'm hearing, Puckett is on the floor to talk to Falcons. Let's hear what the Falcons had to say.
What's up, guys? It's Puckett backstage, and I found myself. Show him the Shifty, rocking the brand new Falcons jersey. Now, this is dope. When we came in, everyone's making their predictions. So many players, so many analysts were saying Falcons are here to take it all. Are you feeling any extra pressure right now?
No, we're just here to do what we normally do.
Now, in the first round, we're doing seeding, of course. You're dropping in solos. What's different about solos? What's your approach versus trios?
It's a little more rattier, so I might just, look for a tower, maybe get a sniper and just chill out. Trio's a lot more team-based, so right now we're just going to rat out.
When it comes to the best snipers, the best slayers out there, your name is always in the mix. Who else do you think are some of your top competitors here in Riyadh?
Besides my teammates, I mean, right now Smith's popping off, so maybe him. And maybe some of the, like Breadman, maybe the keyboards right now. We're in the one-shot sniper meta, so maybe those guys.
I hope we see a lot of snipers today. We don't see it often in the trios. Let's make it happen. You need one. Land on it and make it work. All right, anything you want to say to all the Falcons fans cheering you, Hisoka, and crew on this week?
Thank you. You guys' support has been crazy. Ever since we signed, you guys have just been, it's just been enormous, just support. We're out here, people coming up to us saying what's up, that Team Falcons, that's their team they're supporting. It's great. Be loud. We want to hear you guys' support and cheers.
Come on out to the BR stage, meet Shifty, and watch some of the best Battle Royale Warzone can offer. Thanks so much, bud.
Thank you.
All right, so there it is, Shifty, a guy that knows success, right? Winning the global finals last year in the World Series Warzone and looking to, well, be the first ever Warzone World Cup champion. It's definitely within his grasp. The Falcons, such a wonderful organization. And Puckett, he wants some more snipers out there.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of them, but oh man, one thing I love about Shifty though, just so poised, so confident, so just sure of his gameplay.
Right.
But you saw him. No, I'm not pulling out a sniper.
he knows Breadman is out there lurking with
Hey.
the sniper. He doesn't want to challenge that. That's
But he cut his hair.
Well, he did. That's a bucket hat you don't want to carry. So check it out. We've got our standings, and I actually want to see who's up in first place. And right now, I think it has to be Z Smith. We take a look, and it is, in fact, Z Smith, 33.2. You got to give a shout-out to him. Who else are we noticing there, Infinity?
Yeah, so, I mean, just going straight from the top here, right? We talk about Jukes winning game number 1.
right.
That performance is going to give him 20.8 points in total. It puts him in second place, just behind Smith. Also Almond. I think Almond, one of those players, again, we mentioned Fnatic. Colin, you talked about that, right? The fact that he's up there, I think it inspires confidence in that roster that they can perform pretty well right off the rip.
No one from Falcons.
Well, we take a look at our second page, and this is where I pass it over to you, Seymour, talking about our bottom teams who may have not done the best.
I mean, just look at it right there. Huskers 41, Limax 39, Hisoka 37. Players that we've been talking about, like all coming up towards this tournament, not performing here in solos. It's scary to see Hisoka down there. Skullface, the most winningest solos player in Warzone history in 31 plays. Not a good show for these players. So we're hoping that, you know, when they do come back, we can start to see either in their teammates or when they do return in towards the server for their next turn, if they can turn things around.
Yeah, and it's also worth saying as well, looking towards the bottom half of the leaderboard there, Stuo and Engxion, two of the players that we were talking about, right, for Team Vitality. Team Vitality, I mean, generally speaking, again, you talk about that language barrier, you'd expect those players to come out here firing all cylinders, playing in solo.
Yeah.
Just not having a good first couple of games. That does not bode well for the seeding for Vitality.
Not at all, but still, 2 more games to go at least for each group, maybe even 4 actually, for Group C. But from what I'm hearing for the Falcons, though, they've got some threats inbound. Goj, what did you hear from them?
It's time to get a little spicy, all right? This is our threat-o-meter, okay? Pretty simple. You're going to be rating teams on a scale of 0 threat to you. There is 0 chance they win, to a this is a top team, top 10 threat. If we see them on the map, we either need to be careful, or if they're down, we are sprinting at them because we're not going to let them get back up. We're going to be starting with the Fnatic squad. Now, this is a fun one. This is Almond. Too soon. This is Almond, Noobs, and Skullface. Now, there's a lot of history with all 3 of those players in the Warzone scene.
Yeah, I was thinking in the middle of the pack because, like he said, like
we're threat-o-meter. It's like the beeps are starting to get pretty aggressive, but not like you're not crazy. Yeah.
They're a really good team. I teamed with those guys, so I know them. But Resurgence, 5-6, because Resurgence, you really need a lot of kills. You need a fast-paced shooter. And that team's got to, like, slow.
We know they're good. They just haven't been doing it.
Sure.
But with the way they've been playing lately, I would have them like a 5-6.
Okay.
they're all very good individually, but it seems like they haven't been meshing too well lately. Just in both big map and small map. So, like, if they're hot that day, they could perform really well. But, you know, if they're not, then they're probably going to struggle. So, I'd say around 5.
Well, take 5-6 it is for Fnatic squad. We'll see if they can surprise them. Okay, we're going to go to Twisted Minds. This is Aiden, Knight, and Z-Spin. Talk to me. Where should they be?
Now, this is years ago, 9-10.
Okay.
Recently, Gorgo content base, you know, Aiden and Smith have kind of been on the downfall of their duoship, I'd say. Like 4.
4 from Shifty. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think we'll see. I think 4.
4? Us?
Yeah, I mean, like on paper, they seem great because like Knight is, you know, he plays Resurgence all day, but like I don't know if he's really got that like competitive Resurgence.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. I don't really clear him that much.
Come on. We're going to Guild. This is Wars, King AJ, and Vision. Where do you put them? Going up?
They're pretty solid. Maybe like a 6 or 7.
6-7.
I think War's consistently proven himself as a top EU player. I just don't know how the drama's going to affect them.
Yeah.
Do they care? Do they not? I think it'll just show on them.
Okay, so the 7 for this squad. We've got Al-Ula next, which is Jukes, Tommy, and Lenin. Where do you rank these guys on Resurgence?
I just recently played with Tommy. I know he has really good comms. I also know Juki has crazy comms at playing with him.
Do you think Tom can keep Jukes on the leash? Or?
That guy leave. That guy does his own thing, guys.
Yeah, it depends if Juki wants to listen. I think I put him at like the 4 or 5 mark.
So 4.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Gaming Gladiators. Huskers. Now, Shifty and Hisoka, I'm going to get to it in a second.
Oh, Jordan.
Where are you putting your squad on this list?
10.
A 10. No question, no hesitation. You heard it from Huskers. They are a top 10.
I think his nose grew like Pinocchio.
Okay, now we're going to you guys. Gladiators.
That's okay.
Jackal, Frolic, and your boy Huss sitting right next to you.
Man, I'm gonna be honest.
You don't need to hold back because he's sitting next to you. He's got
I'm not.
mean right.
I'll be done. I'm giving a 6 and a 7 because of their big map success.
Okay.
I'd say 6-7.
Okay, well, last one. You know where I'm going next. I'll start with you guys. The Falcons.
I mean, I think with standard right now, the bar, probably the 10.
Doing the standard.
Yeah, I believe so. We put in a lot of time, and I think the results are there. So we think we're the best, and we can show results of why we are.
Yep. Frankly, that was a very humble way of saying you're the best. I'm pretty impressed.
I'm media trained now, you know?
I like it. Look, you're looking good, man. Haas, what about you?
I think undisputably they're the best team in the game. I wouldn't put them at a 10, because I'd put them at like an 8 or 9, because they're, like I said, they're the best, but they're still beatable.
Okay, 8 or 9 for the Falcons from our Gladiators. A 9. We'll give them a 9. Very well done, gentlemen. This is a great exercise in, honestly, your great answers across the board. Thanks for being here, gentlemen. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys. Really wishing you guys a ton of success in this tournament, and excited to cast over your gameplay.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so there it is. The threadometer has been summoned at least. And, well, there were some honest answers in there, despite maybe their competitors being in the room. Some surprising ones. See where we go to you. What stood out?
I mean, 4 for Twisted Minds? Right now, it seems like Twisted Minds are at 10 and the Falcons are at the 4, the way that they're looking and playing inside those solos. But, hey, it's just the beginning. They're also putting Fnatic pretty low as well. And, you know, I feel like they're just not kind of bringing in the fact that Fnatic did so much work in between this tournament and the last time we saw them inside of a tournament. So it's going to be like a big turn.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe they gave Twisted Minds a 4. Like, I mean, I feel like Ahsoka has now learned that was a big error after the first couple of games. If Smith's doing that, if we expect Knight to be doing that, and to be fair, it does add to the conversation at least that these guys are not expecting Knight to be on top form.
Yeah, you know, I love how Huskers rated himself a 10 because, listen, let me tell you what, confidence, but that guy, no matter what the team issue he has, he always finds himself at the most important events. So, I mean, Hisoka was kind of funny with that comment. His nose grew like the
It seems like Twisted Minds weren't a threat, but I think we got a Twisted Minds interview. Let's hear what they had to say.
What's up? I got Knight from Twisted Minds. Show him the jersey. Now, Knight, I haven't seen you on land. At least not at the World Series of Warzone, the biggest Warzone events. But I've been told you are a janitor, a special kind of janitor, a Rebirth Island janitor. Tell me about the nickname.
Hey, for the last couple of years, I've been cleaning up this island. So, you know, they just gave me the role. I'm the janitor here, so I'm here to clean this place up. You know what I mean?
I love that. Now, you're playing alongside Aiden Z. Smith. Smith is dropping huge numbers in the opening round of seeding here. What's your goal?
I mean, if they're going to play like that, I'm just keeping us in the game, you know. They could take all the glory. We're getting this dub by the end of the day, you know. So, stay alive. That's all I am, I guess.
Are you stronger at solos or trios?
I'm a jack of all trades, so whatever it is, you know, I come out guns blazing. I'm excited for solos, but most importantly, the trios.
And for the new Knight fans, because we know you're going to convert them during your first game, what do they need to know about you? Where are you playing from? How long did it take you to get here, and what do you think of Riyadh?
17-hour flight, flew from Georgia. It is beautiful here, very hot, but I'm adapting. It's awesome. Thank you all for the opportunity here.
Knight, best of luck, man. You already got a fan of me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, there it is. Knight looking pretty strong, saying I'm a jack of all trades. And Bucket saying you're going to gain some new fans, right? So that's a great thing. I love it. Let's take a look at our leaderboard, though, because, again, Twisted Minds was getting a lot of hate, it seems. But let's take a look at the leaderboard. And what do we notice, Infinity?
I mean, yeah, again, Twisted Minds, Smith right at the top. Again, we already mentioned it before the break, right? We talked about Smith doing what he has been doing in those first couple of games. Already proving that he needs to not be underestimated here. It is worth saying, to be fair, Aiden in 12th place as well. We didn't really see much of him in the first couple of games, but finishing with 14 points, I mean, that's nothing to turn your nose up at.
I would say no. It's still a good performance as far as I'm concerned compared to some others. We take a look at the bottom, and, well, there's a lot of birds down there talking about the Falcons' dream. Falcons not looking too hot right now.
Yeah, they're not. But, you know, a part of me just feels like they're not really worried. Like, okay, again, like, we've seen sometimes where maybe they might start off slow. But, like, how many times have they just come out with some crazy, like, pop-off game?
Right.
I just think they're not really worried. But even, like, for Jay, though, look at him. He's in 22nd. He got a win, but still in 22nd. So, I mean, all it takes is one of these guys to just have a completely shooter game. I mean, Z Smith, challenge everything, right?
Yeah.
So, for Falcons, I don't think they're worried, though.
They should. Well, at least at this point, I don't think they're worried, but there might be an opportunity to get worried depending because, well, they also said one team wasn't a threat, and that's Alula, which, of course, we're talking about Jukes, who ended up winning the first game of the day. Malash is on stage to talk to Jukes. Let's hear what he had to say.
And here we are on the main stage with Jukes from Al-Ula, who actually got a first place in game number 1. I mean, look, we have to reflect back on the year. You know, it's been a bit tough, it's been rough. You get in here, first game, you get the win. How does that feel?
I don't know what to say, really, apart from it's just a great way to start, you know. I didn't really expect it, but once I saw that there was 2 left and I saw them fighting, I just knew I was going to win, so, yeah.
How is it positioning-wise? Because 2 down players at some point, going up for the self-res, and you're running around the corner trying to grab them. Of course, we could see it from our end, but how are you trying to kind of play that situation?
Yeah, as well, I stuck him with the thermite through the window, so I was thinking in my head, he has to die, but then it took so long to get the full kill, so I went to double-check that he wasn't actually going to get up, and then as I jumped through the window, I got the full kill. I hit the guy on my right, and I just ego-challenged him, obviously, it's what I do, so, yeah.
And in the end, you won it out. A beautiful win. Now, of course, in game 2, things were not as good. You know, 4 kills in total versus the Ed. What happened in match 2? What was it like?
I had control of the water tower, which was my initial plan for like the first game and the second game. But then I was waiting for like people to land in the loadout, and no one was doing it. So I just got a bit antsy, and I was thinking I got to move here and get more kills. I've had a banger first game, I think, anyway. So like it doesn't really matter how this goes. So yeah, I just kind of full sent it. I got sniped. I was unlucky, to be fair. I think if I got into that building, I would have been fine because I'm good at working like the close corners, buildings and stuff. But I got sniped on the way in, so it's unfortunate.
Do you think part of it is being in that LAN environment where there's maybe shake, stress, or is it something else?
What, for everyone else? I don't know. I can't comment on them. All I can say is I'm feeling confident, so I'm going to show that on the map by just challenging people, to be honest. Yeah.
So far, so good. I got to say, and I didn't spoil it before we got in here, but you're currently at 2nd place overall. So not too shabby. Does that fill you with a bit of extra pride?
No, the plan's still the same. You know, I'm still going to load into the next 2 and just, you know, still go for the highest kills and maybe a win again, because that winning feeling was good. I'm not going to lie. Normally, I'm a type to just kill. So like, when it comes to winning, I'm not really, you know, familiar with it. But that felt good. That felt good. So look, hopefully I can do it again.
Keeping it cool under pressure. Well, there you go. Great to have you on here for the interview, Jukes from Al-Ula. We'll toss it back to our studio.
So he says, when it comes to winning, I'm not really that familiar to it. But I tell you what, he better get familiar because, well, he's an incredible player and he started off hot and heavy. So Al-Ula, expecting him to go far. Great guys, and more importantly, Jukes, a legend when it comes to Warzone competitive. Been doing it since the very beginning. I have nothing but love for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we just kind of mentioned some of the hardships that they've had. And I mean, just setting the momentum, like that was even one of the questions that we had with Manoush earlier. Like, will this tournament maybe motivate them to push for that success and just to come out and have that first game win? And not to mention the ending with the double down and the thermite. It was beautiful plays, and that's the confidence that we need from these players.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You know, Jukes not only just great at the game, he was also a wonderful dad in real life. Let me tell you, he was the daddy of everyone in that lobby in the first game of the day. Just insane. And you know what? I think, you know, part of the conversation point about Jukes overall is how aggressive is he as a player?
Yes.
Does he kind of overstep that line sometimes, getting too aggressive? Is it too much? You know, does he kind of put himself in bad situations? For game number 1, that worked perfectly. And for game number 2, he actually mentioned the fact that he got more aggressive there. We didn't see him do as well. And I do wonder whether that was the case as we got into game number 2. I'm curious about what his scoreline looked there.
And I think it just kind of brings it into the whole thing that, you know, now Jukes with Tommy is going to be a new face of Jukes that I don't think anybody is really ready to see. Yes, he is wild. He's ready to go get those kills. He's not used to winning, but Tommy's used to winning, and he's been around the block for a long time. So this could be just a whole new show from that team.
Jukes, again, a guy that better get used to winning because I think he's going pretty far. And let's not forget, he hasn't qualified for the global stage yet when it comes to World Series of Warzone. So he wants more, and, well, this is going to be more without question. And let's actually listen in. I think Puckett had a chance to interview Lenin, Jukes' teammate. Let's hear what he had to say.
What's up, guys? It's Puckett backstage, and I found me a Lenin, of course, one of the legendary UK players. But this time around, you got a new jersey. Tell me about it.
I'm representing Al-Ula. They're a football club in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, they picked us up. So shout out to Al-Ula.
Love that club. Best of luck in the running for the club competition. I know serious money is on the line. 20 grand, or 20 million, I should say. Add a few zeros and a comma. All right, Lenin, we got to talk about Jukes, though. Very first map, the man comes in. He gets first place. That doubles up his score. You guys were up to 16 points after just map number 1. How good is this team feeling right now in the seeding rounds?
I'm feeling very confident after that. I knew he could do it. It's Jukes, the best UK player ever in Warzone. I knew he was going to win. And yeah, he showed out. I stood up in the crowd. I was like, go on, Jukes. And it was good.
While he did get that first place, he doubles up his money. There's a cat behind us. This is amazing. I want to hang out with that guy in just a little bit. But Lenin, real quick. So Jukes gets first place, but Z-Smith drops more kills. You're about to go up in the next round. Who's going to be your toughest competition?
Probably Shifty, but I'm not scared, you know. I'm going to bring it to him.
Can you body him early?
100%. I'll shoot his body as well.
I like that call out. All right, before you go, any shout outs you want to give to everyone watching you from home? You got $1 million on the line this weekend.
Shout out to my mom. I know you're watching, Mom. I'm going to make you proud, hopefully. And then shout out to my girlfriend as well, because she's going to be at home watching as well. So thank you.
Well, I think.
And everyone, family, everyone, my dad, big shout out. Thank you.
Big shout out, much love. Back to you guys.
Shout out to the girlfriend. Man's getting brownie points. Hey, Lenin, big fan of that call out, so you can never go wrong with that one. Good guy, and said he was even cheering for Juke. He's like, go on, mate, as he says. And, well, as you would say, actually,
brilliant.
On the test, brilliant.
Excellent.
Lenin, though, seriously, you could tell he's so proud of Jukes to be obviously leading victory. Speaking of which, Jukes, where does he stand out on that leaderboard? We get a refresh for those at home, and Jukes in second place. So, Seymour, at least for Lenin, he had a real reason to cheer for his teammate.
Yeah, and I was cheering for the cat, too, behind stage. We love the cats here on the desk. But, no, Jukes doing fantastic. I think, it's kind of unfortunate. We see Z-Dark there for, all gamers. Not a big performance from players on our fantasy team or, players that we did shout out.
We have time.
Except for Guild. I mean, you did a good job, Brody, shouting them out.
Sometimes, very rarely, mind you, sometimes I happen to know what I'm talking about. Very rarely.
Well, I think pretty much you hit it on the spot every time. Give yourself some more credit there. And again, shout out to that cat. That cat right there is known worldwide now. That is the studio cat. Well, also, we had a chance to talk to Z-Dark, another player that you said, number 5 on the leaderboard? So he's doing pretty well. Goj had a chance to talk to him. Let's hear what he had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh. My name is Enigma, and today we are doing interviews, and I am sat with Z-Dark, who is here, reigning in from Mexico. Now, the first thing I want to ask about you and your team, how does it feel to be carrying that region with you, and how does it feel to represent them here?
Me siento muy alegre, muy feliz de que esté pasando todo esto. Estoy muy contento de estar representando aquí en México como se merece.
So, on the regions, LATAM, should we, as a whole space, be giving you guys more respect? Should you guys be looked at as one of the teams that can compete at the very top end of this tournament?
Sí, sí las podemos considerar, que es una región que está en el top considerablemente.
Okay, so with that in mind, who do you think is the best player in the game? Because currently, no one has mentioned anyone from LATAM. Should they?
Podría ser el equipo de Biful. Tiene buenos jugadores, pero también siento que nuestro equipo tiene muy buenos jugadores que podrían estar en el top.
Is there any team that you don't want to land on you in the map? Would it be just Biffle, or is there someone else as well?
No me importa, la verdad, con cuál equipo nos enfrentemos cuando estemos en el mapa.
But is there anyone that you really want to beat? Anyone that you want to, if you see them on the map, you're hunting them down?
Obviamente el equipo de Biffle.
You three, as a team, have been together for a very long time. What advantage does that give you in this tournament?
Yo creo que tenemos demasiada química entre nosotros, nos conocemos muy bien y cada quien sabe su rol en el equipo y estamos muy bien entrelazados.
I'm sure there are plenty of friends, fans, supporters that you want to say something to, so what is your message?
Le quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes que han estado siempre apoyando a la comunidad, especialmente a mi familia, la comunidad mexicana, la de LATAM, y pues muchas gracias a todos ustedes, por esto estamos aquí. Gracias a todos.
And we wish you the best of luck through the tournament.
Well, there it is, Enigma talking to Big Z Dark. And like I said, number 5 right now. He says he doesn't care who he finds on the battlefield, but if he does come across Biffle, well, he'll happily take him out.
I don't think he's the only one that has his eyes on the Falcons this weekend, especially in that first couple of games that we did see. But he was talking about the chemistry that they have together. I mean, there's a reason why I kind of had them as my team to highlight going into this tournament, is because how long they've been playing together and how long they've been playing together while performing towards the top. It just kind of adds into that experience when you're not only playing together, but you're playing some good Warzone when you're kind of winning in that as well. They're having fantastic years together, and it kind of seems like it's just around the corner that they're nearing that win, and this could be it.
Could be it. You know, when I think about Warzone, right, I think about so many players and so many regions represented. We talked about this tournament with 21 teams, 63 players, 5 regions were NA, EU, APAC, EMEA, and Latin America. What does it mean to represent Latin America? I mean, their fan base are wild in a good way. They love to support each and every player from Latin America.
Yes, yes. And one thing that I love that, you know, Dark said that, and Castillo and Amir, I mean, they got 4th last year. They surprised all of us, but the expansion of the regions, right? Some of these regions, I mean, I think about even 18 years ago, right? North America always said EU sucked. Truthfully,
100%.
right?
Truthfully.
Fair, right? But then EU's like, no. We're going to adapt to new play styles.
Yes.
And I remember even back then, like certain, like, let's talk about hard points for a second. P1, P2, P3. That was an EU thing. That was not North America. So you think about Latin American. Yeah. Now all of these new regions are coming in because they have the tournaments. They have the practice.
Yes.
And now we're just seeing this new up and coming talent. And every year, you guys, it just grows more and more, and I just love seeing players like this shine.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, I mean, it is just such a global thing, right, Warzone? I think comparatively to multiplayer in the early years, we talk about kind of North America and even to a certain extent, I'll admit, to a lesser extent, all right, we'll get about that, Europe, right? But with Warzone, I think, you know, you talk about the fact that you have North America and Europe, and that was, I think, the dominant conversation for a really long time.
Right.
But over the course of time, it's progressed to, well, now we have to start talking about the Latin American teams. Now we have to start talking about the Asia-Pacific teams like Limax and co. Coming over towards North America and performing as well. And, of course, I think most pertinently to here in Riyadh, the Saudi teams as well. It is a very much an international esport, and I absolutely love that.
And I do want to say, just to get on the soap opera box just a little bit more, like, you know, Warzone is a game that has grown so much throughout its introduction into the esports space, and that for me personally means quite a bit. And I know for the Warzone competitors out there, for the longest time we were trying to prove our legitimacy as an esport, and I think we absolutely have done that. And that's representative not only with the World Series of Warzone, but also now here at the World Cup. I mean, the competition is so high at this point, it's hard to break into the upper echelon, but it makes things exciting when certain players do. For example, I mean, you know, Stable J, right? Taking that victory was absolutely massive. So, you know, is he going to win the whole thing? I don't know, but the fact that he can win a game just comes to show you Warzone is just a growing game. It's a special game, and again, very, very special to me and all those who end up watching it. So I'm happy that this World Cup is taking place and we get the opportunity to see the best of the best compete. Speaking of the best, though, let's go to you, Seymour. We're about to hop in potentially to map number 3 of the day. Wow. Maybe, you know, at least game number 1 for Group C. Are there any players that you think are going to be scary? They could be players that we've already seen. Could be players that we haven't.
I mean, I feel like, again, you're not going to see Falcons do bad over the course of this tournament, and you expect Falcons to kind of bounce back. Now with Shifty coming in, he was talking to Pocket, he was saying that, you know, I'm ready for this one. I might not want to bring out the sniper, but I do want, like, you're going to see Shifty pick it up for the Falcons in this one. Good. He knows that pressure is there for the team, especially when you're considering that this team is going to come out of the groups at the top in that seed, and you're expecting them to be the highest seed, kind of be at the top of this whole tournament.
Right.
And it's up to Shifty now to kind of ignite that flame for the team. So I think if there's anybody to really kind of put your eyes on now, I know we were looking at Falcons, but I think I'm looking at them even more going into this next group.
Well, we mentioned the Warzone World Cup, right? Trying to crown yourself as the first champion, but we also talked about club championships. The club championship trophy up for grabs. So much money on the line. If you missed the pre-show, you've got to get caught up. You need to learn what this club championship is all about. Well, let's fill you in.
Introducing the Club Championship. Here's how it works. Each club will have the opportunity to field its rosters across multiple titles. The clubs finishing in the top 8 across each of the 21 titles will receive points based on their placement. For a chance to qualify for the club championship, a club needs to place in the top 8 in at least 2 competitions. For a chance to win, a club must finish first in at least 1 competition. Once the tournament has concluded, the top 16 clubs will take a share of the $20 million prize pool, with the first place team claiming the title of the first ever Esports World Cup club champion, as well as receiving a staggering $7 million in prize money.
Such an incredible amount of money. I mean, come on, we're talking about $20 million up for grabs from these clubs, and then also $7 million for first. It's life-changing in a way, right? And who knows what the benefits of that money is going to be for those clubs, right? For those orgs that are representing these incredible teams. Just again, I am so blown away at how far esports has come since I started back in, 2012, right? Again, I'm old. I know you're only 25, so 11 years ago. Here we go.
I was fine. You didn't have to point at me. I was good there.
Is he old too?
No, he's also 25.
Okay, so 25. So when you started your career, you were so many ages old. It's caster math that is actually for some reason difficult for me to do right now. I'm not even going to attempt it. But for real though, like so much money to be earned. It's truly special to be on this stage. But we're about to hop into Group C. We've already seen some great plays. We've seen some, some not so great performances, which has been quite tough to say the least. Breadman, I'm curious. I don't know if Breadman was a big narrative whenever it came to those games. Anyways, I'm hoping to see him in Group C. I believe he's in Group C. If so, then we will get to see those snipes come out. More sniper action, which Puckett wanted. We're going to get that. But I think we're about to get ready for the groups. Let's head over to the STC Arena and start this whole thing back up again.
The best Warzone players in the world are all geared up and absolutely raring to go. They've been split into 3 groups, A, B, and C. And currently, Group C are setting up to go into our 3rd map of the day. But Milos, we've got to say, as we do a little bit of a recap of what's happened so far, what about Smit? What an incredible performance.
Smit has been absolutely incredible. Let's just put some numbers down for you. Not only is he #1, the man has come in with 22 kills in 2 maps for a total of 33.2 points. Remember, if you're in first place, that doubles your points. That is in your matchup. But there's still 2 others that were performing quite well. On 3rd place, that was Almond with 16 kills from Fnatic. And then Jukes, we interviewed him earlier from Al Ula, 12 kills. Hey, it's not just about the kills. It's a bit more to it.
It is indeed. Jukes taking that first win and then Stable J taking the one after. I've just spoken with him and he says he's about to get another one. So keep your eyes peeled for his screen. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We've got so much more gameplay coming your way today. So don't go anywhere. Back to the studio.
Well, we're just a couple minutes away now as we're about to hop into our next group play, and I could not be more excited because, hey, those first 2 games were lightning fast, as you would expect when it comes to Resurgence, Rebirth, and I gotta say, as we do introduce the new group, my thing, though, is like, Group A just played. Group C is now about to go on stage. The jitters might be there, but granted, they got a little bit of a sneak peek of what Group A is all about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was still actually on the bit where you guys were talking about your age. I was hoping no one would. But
we don't have to.
No, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I'm old then. But no, this next group, yeah, as you mentioned, they did get the chance to watch their teammates. Lenin cheering on Jukes in the background. But yeah, kind of gonna be the thing there is, will we continue to see that sniper gameplay? I'm really curious. But Breadman, the myth, the legend. Mouse and keyboard player, guys, we gotta give him his flowers.
Mouse and keyboard player? Actually, that's almost, for me, that's so hard to do, but you gotta give him respect. Respect is due. Sniper, mouse and keyboard, a lot to look out for. Let's bring in our casters, because our casters are ready to go, and I can't wait to talk to them, because it's been a little bit since I had a chance to get up there in the green room and, kind of pick their brain a little bit. Let's bring them in. Who do we got? So, all right, got Goj and Dandro. Good to see you guys. Hey, those first 2 maps, man, were just absolutely insane. Z-Smith taking it all. Group C's coming up, though. Who are we looking out for?
Bro, it's the litmus test, all right? We've already got the litmus test. We dipped it in there. It was acid, man. We got new subs. I'm looking at Knight. Let's see if he can carry the torch forward. All right. Acidic, basic, I don't know. But Taylor, get out of here. The game's about to get started, all righty? So, Dan, talk to me about the teams, bro. We got so many subs. We got to bring back the hype. It's a brand new group. We got Brawlett coming in. We got Zeppa. We got got Jace staying, but Raul coming in for Nate Dogg. Like, brand new players on the map for the first time.
Well, hey, we saw the interview earlier, and I'm excited to see him on the map. Is Lenin for Tommy as well, right? We saw Jukes take a map. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see another member of Alula take another map as well. I love what Z-Smith said, though, where he says, I'm challenging everything. I hope we saw some other people watch that interview and take that advice and start challenging everything, because here's the time to do it, right? We swap groups. You need to keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah, and Shifty on your screen. It's the first time we've seen him on LAN here for the Esports World Cup. Has proven himself on LAN tons of times at this point, but it's time to get into Game 3 of the first day. Solo seeding, folks. Group C, first time on the map. Game 3 overall. Here we go, and right into the mix, Aiden finds one. Aiden says, wake up, gentlemen. We're here. We're ready to rock and roll.
We're kicking it off hot. Aiden on the Twisted Minds. His teammate Z-Smith went a little nuclear, let's be honest, in those first 2 maps. Well, he's got his other duo in the lobby here now, looking to make it happen here in map number 3. Kicking it off as we have Hamoud. They said they were going to be landing here at Control Center, and they are looking to keep it moving.
Yeah, I think that's a fun note. We talked about it in the last couple games, is that some of these individuals are saying, hey, this is my drop spot, this is what I know, this is where I want to be. As we swing over it, apparently there's going to be some more people there. So these early gunfights are huge. Huskers is near the bottom of the leaderboard, needs a big map. It's a great way to start. You can take out the drones, get some early cash, get your loadout, and then get onto the map and get moving. The problem with Huskers, frankly, last map, wasn't necessarily that he's playing bad. He just kept losing to Z-Smith. And it's like, all right, maybe go somewhere else, because if Z-Smith's on the map, I'm scared. Luckily, Z-Smith's not on the map. Could see Huskers with a big game.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, right? We kind of saw map number 1 didn't really go out well for him. Map number 2, he's getting gunned down by a Bruin from a window. So map number 3, already feeling fantastic for him. Almond, on the other hand, now here over at Prison, trying to make something happen. Tenix has hopped up on top of this little bit of a room here, but Almond gonna take a little bit of time to wait. But Tenix still getting aggros. He's shooting down at this player at Grandma's.
It's probably a good time, too. It looked like Almond was maybe trying to make a move. Yeah, no problem. Grandma's house is his, looking for the cookies. At least a kill to his name. 1 kill, 2 downs, looking for more as he hunts down what looks like Knight on the other side. Zix on the other side. A couple people down below, but you don't want to give up your position. Not yet. Got some high ground in. Well, a little bit of a standoff. Jason Trouble is just going to crawl slowly and quietly as far away as possible. Maybe Patsuka might sneak up behind. Jace in trouble from about 5 different angles at this point, hearing footsteps all around. Gonna get out of dodge.
He's making a lot of noise, let's be honest here. You're smashing doors, you're breaking windows. Vision knows exactly where Jace is gonna be. Trying to hold a little bit of a stair glitch here as we are in a standoff on our bellies. Trying to make sure we can find one, but Vision gets some audio behind, but Oki slams on in.
Nice.
Jace takes us as the opportunity, slides on out. Third parties are in very quickly already.
Yeah, welcome to Resurgence, folks. Particularly welcome to solos, all right? Third parties galore. We broke it down in the first 2 maps. When you hear gunfire of 2 different people fighting, maybe more, you swing in and clean up the kills. If you can at least get 1, that's a win. There's always a chance you could get 2. Oki just fell, now flying back in. If Jace can clean him up here, Oki is out of this map. He had a great rep in map number 2 to push himself sizably up the leaderboard, but Jace has a bunch of swimmers all around him and finally catches one. Brolic, welcome to the lobby, and maybe go back to it, my friend. First game on for Brolic, he's out in 40th.
Listen, boys, I understand Riyadh is hot. Everybody is here sweating. That does not mean we all need to go swimming here in map number 3. There's like 8 players that are just out here in the ocean. And Jace, if he plays this right, he could clean up all of them.
Yeah, it's a big moment. Man, we had a lot of big question marks around that Fnatic team. You saw Almond down below Jace right now. And we asked about team chemistry, frankly. We asked about leadership. Well, in solos, they're all some of the best individual skilled players on the map. So Almond is actually near the top of the leaderboard, by the way. You saw that leaderboard a couple times, around 3rd or so as an individual. So excited to see what that total Fnatic squad total will be. Because yes, Z-Smith was at the top, but the question is, where are all of our players' totals at the end of groups today, or at the end of seeding, rather, today? So Jace takes a couple shots, misses a couple, and might shoot over the zip and chase down Oki.
The other side of the map, though, look who it is, Shifty. We were looking for him to come in and kind of start turning up the heat for the Falcons. 3 kills, and you're hearing some of the crowd get wild at that one. We were kind of wondering, when were people going to get a little excited? Well, you get Shifty in the lobby. This is the time for everyone to be online, to be hyped for their team.
You're the home team. You better lock and load. Let's get involved. We got to keep our eyes out for Shifty on the kill feed. So we swing over to his POV. He's cleaned up this side of continue to hunt slowly but surely, making sure a couple on H. Hamoud. Oh, Hamoud goes down, and unfortunately, a little almost team 6 trying to answer as Zisman has left the lobby for him and Knight to clean up. Aiden on 6 with 30.
Finds this player in the water. They're already downed though. So if Aiden goes ahead and gets the full, he's not going to get right? So he sees him. That player's like, please put me out of my misery. Let me get the resurgence timer cooking. And Aiden hits him with the little left to right stick saying, no, I'm running away. You can go ahead and self-revive if you want. I'll take the free points.
Well, Aiden on 6, Knight, his teammate, also on this map on 4. That's a total of 10 for this team, but Knight does get fallen, and that's by Prodigy. Prodigy cuts him down and sends him back up into the air. You see a couple players getting eliminated. Quick look at the map here, the top left-hand corner, very central zone. It is kind of hanging towards quarters, I think, living quarters, which is where Jukes actually got his win, so watch out for a similar circle. But welcome to the party, Raul on 6. First time on the map.
I mean, you're feeling good. You just watch Jay clutch up a map. Your sub is here. Still a little bit middle of the pack on the leaderboard, but 6 kills is definitely a way to kind of start off this new group stage, revitalize your team's points. He's able to find the 1 now, slows it down a little bit, understands Prodigy is up on top, doesn't want to make a movement and just get gunned down from above.
You see off the very edge of the map, Stuo is climbing the ladder slowly and quietly on the ship. Watch out for a potential snipe there from Stuo. Patzuka on 7. These players are getting really aggressive. I think we've figured out the pace of play here in solos. Everybody wants kills. Everybody wants the full send for them, and some players are being paid for it in strides. Teenix on 3, looking to push the equation, getting shot from about 17 angles. Sorry, buddy, you entered the firing range, and you're not getting out of it. We'll see if maybe he can try to restabilize it. As Levi finds some loadout weapons on the ground and says, thank you very much. I'll take those.
I literally think those were 10x
yeah,
guns.
Oh, for sure.
A little bit of a nice gift for you, you know? You come back in off of the resurgence, you watch someone just get absolutely obliterated, you say, okay, thank you. Let me get back on into the game and keep moving. And Levi looking to put him to work already. Puts down Drake here outside bottom grandma's.
Yeah, Levi literally probably in stadium points over to Tinox, which is like, thank you very much for that kill, by the way.
Thanks,
I appreciate that. Nice little hockey assist. Brett on 3, first one in the lobby as well. This is the player from Group C. First game for him. Can have a total of 3 in a row. And so far, so good. A couple prox mines, by the way, that are his on that buy station. Could be in for a rude awakening if you're looking for a potential gas mask or something.
Yeah, you try and hit that. The prox mines can catch players by surprise, even on loadouts as well. That's kind of the one thing that we see a lot, is players kind of trying to bait those loadouts, use them as almost like a moth to a flame, you know, so much to get players to come on in. It looks like kind of what Noobs is doing something similar with this mobile buy station that's on the boat.
Patzuka again on 7, finds News, breaks plates. He's going to have to push the equation. He's got the advantage and gets the cleanup. 1 goes down, should be able to get the full kill without exposing himself to another player on the map. He's on edge. He's cleaned up the POI here. You see this look. There's no one around. The closest players are all the way up, almost all the way to prison. Wars is way deep in industrial, all the way over here in control center. I mean, he's not even close. This could be a massive map for Patzuka.
Yeah, Patzuka is really kind of primed. If he wants to make a rotate into zone, you get into this power position, you can catch a lot of these players that do have to kind of rotate in from control. You could find a lot of them. We could see Wars kind of trying to hold this top control, maybe do something a little bit similar, kind of looking down towards tents, making sure nobody's landing on his roof and catching them by surprise. Breadman, though, still trying to make some moves, and I believe they know that Believe is here. Car 98 in hand, Believe kind of swings on out. It's just not enough. Shock sticks coming into play. This isn't the first time we've seen that.
It actually hits Believe here, too. He zoned him off to make sure Believe couldn't go up the stairs as the zone was creeping in. A great play, gets the advantage, has the high ground. Bread, a perfect execution of a high IQ player, and barely loses a plate for it. He is getting shot from a separate angle, but has enough cover, lay down, get the plates in. Hey, you asked the people, is Bread the best sniper in the game? He was hitting a couple, but he knows the game. In, out, everywhere in between. SMG in hand, gets the cleanup.
I see War still sitting over here, control center. He was doing a great job kind of holding it in, making sure nobody could land here, but it doesn't look like he's been able to do so. Coming on in, where can you have it out? Anybody home? Anybody trying to make a move here? I'm not entirely sure. A little bit of respect going on between some of our players.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because that resurgence timer is close. Yeah, if you die now, you are out of here. Back to the lobby, back to the STC arena. You got to watch out, folks, because you want to keep playing. You want to keep farming kills as Wars is looking for a 7.
I love the patience right now from Wars. He gets that armor crack onto Cams, but doesn't feel like he needs to fly out of this window. Really wants to kind of hold down some of this positioning. You see the smoke come on through. We'll block some of that line of sight. Soka on the other side of the map towards this living quarters area that we were looking at. Currently 4 kills. He knows somebody is below him in this house trying to play around here. Smoke will go out. C4 at the bottom. Might be able to buy him an opportunity to push through these stairs. He's able to do it, and he finds Z Dark. A beautiful play from his Soka on Team Falcons.
The Falcons fans are, well, probably most of the fans in the stadium right now, and they're cheering Ahsoka on. Quick reminder, by the way, Ahsoka's been playing this whole competition thus far. This is his 3rd map. He only had a total of about 9.6 points in the first 2. This is a really big map for him. We're about to get into what looks like a massive multiplier right around the corner. We just hit it, top 15, 1.4, looking for the 1.7 top 5. Shifty fighting Huskers, wants to keep Huskers at the bottom of the leaderboard. You heard the yapping in the interview. Shifty on 7. He's going to reapproach this fight from a different angle. Here's footsteps down below.
Yeah, and I love this. You kind of make a little bit of play out towards the gas. You catch Cams trying to be able to fly in and out, but it's not going to be enough. And look who's back on top. They're getting the shots in. He hops in the vehicle. It's the great escape for Shifty right now. The only problem is you're playing in gas for a long time, so even if you do make it back into zone, you are going to go down very quickly.
Yeah, no gas mask to speak of as well, so he had to get the zone quickly. A fantastic high IQ play for Shifty to keep his dreams alive. Aiden on 11. Woo! We had a question if the Twisted Mind squad was going to be on top. There's almost zero question at this point. Z-Smith put his team on top. Aiden says, let me carry the burden, my friend. Let us continue to run through the competition. We've got the confidence. Speaking of confidence, Shifty finds Zix. See ya later. Squad wipe. Crowd goes wild. Shifty on 8.
And look, Soka, the teammate, finds Aiden on the other side. That's a squad wipe. Aiden taken on out by his Soka. We potentially could see some Falcons on Falcons action here towards the end of the game, but not just yet, because Breadman is waiting. Puts Shifty right into the oven, says, have some bread, my boy.
It's actually a huge kill by Breadman, by the way. Look at this. Just now got to top 5. 1.7 multiplier is active. Shifty just barely missed out on that. Has a 1.4. Still a great game, but not an amazing one. Bread catches another opponent unaware. High IQ's paying off. 6 kills and a dream. We've got 2 more players. Can Breadman close it out?
I mean, he's in a really solid spot right now. He's kind of playing the high ground. You can see that he's not in zone, but I don't know if that really matters. You can make some sort of gas play. He has 14 plates to his name, and you can see he has the Car 98. Levi's gone wide here, though, and is trying to catch Bread on out. Bread, though, using the quickness here of the gas to be able to try and play out. Slowly but surely, the gas is ticking down as he is playing this wall, but Raul waiting nearby. The shots go on in. Breadman trying to stay alive, but it's the turn and burn from Bread.
Breadman still alive, finally gets cut down, but gets paid with another kill. A massive victory. Breadman was close, but no cigar, folks. At the end of the day, you gotta have resources, and a huge win from Levi.
Levi, I love the play at the end there. Just goes out into the gas to swing wide, kind of forces Bread to go down low, and he just takes all of that space. So even though maybe he doesn't get some of those last eliminations, he sets himself up for the win. And honestly, that's just a really, really smart thing to do.
Yeah, I loved that play from Levi. And again, it was a battle of resources. Like, it's not often you see in games in Warzone where nobody has a gas mask. And so nobody can really play inside the gas for very long, especially as you hang out there for too long, it starts really chunking your health. So if you're not careful, you're going to get killed by the gas, not even another player. But a huge congratulations to Team Na'Vi with a big win there. They needed it. They were around the middle of the pack overall. All the players been doing decent.
Yeah.
We needed a big win. Levi gets it. Very, very well done.
Yeah, and I think what we just even saw there, even with the shift in group change, players, I think, realize they got to come out swinging right now. A very much more aggressive game. I think we saw a lot more kills on the board there in this sort of first matchup of Group A versus Group C.
Yeah, I love to see Breadman, though, on the map. I think obviously a huge value add for the team. Everybody thinks he's a good sniper. We've talked about that 1,000 times, but it's his IQ, man. This guy knows how to win. He knows how to get to endgame, and he's so good in 1v1 situations because he knows how to play the game just better than other people with positioning. Yes, he's a keyboard and mouse player. Yes, at close range, that's difficult. You don't have aim assist. Get over it, says Brett, because it doesn't matter. If you put yourself in the right position and you got good aim, you can always always win the gunfight.
Well, I think that's a really interesting thing to bring up because, you know, whatever, there's that ever-loving debate, whatever, controller versus mouse and keyboard. But I know kind of talking to Brad, one thing he's really kind of taken to heart is that, yes, I have learned how to play my particular input, right? He knows how to position himself, like you said, because he knows that he's not going to win those up-close and personal gunfights. So puts himself towards that mid-range. He's able to do it, but unfortunately, it is Levi at the end. And it was a PDS that Levi was able to use to give him the play.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was out there for a while without a gas mask. Here's the final moment, the final kill, and yet again, it was another third party, a fantastic execution of his plan, I am sure. Levi said, I want to play the edge. I want to make sure they fight before I have to fight them. You actually saw in that fight with Breadman, he backed off first to make sure Bread rotated the other way when they got each other weak, and then that forced the encounter. Bread wins the fight, but Levi cleans him up.
Yeah, really, really solid. I know, you know, Na'Vi as an organization, they were super hyped to be here in Call of Duty Warzone. They pick up this squad. They've been hyping them up on social media. It's got to feel good to finally have somebody on your team take a map win. You're feeling great, and you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day.
A ton of success, a lot more to play for, though. Let's head back to the desk. Taylor, Reflections Noble, how the heck you doing over there, my friend? How about a Na'Vi victory, huh?
Hey, big wins, right? That was a pretty good game as far as I'm concerned. Even looking at Shifty, Shifty makes a pretty deep run, but I love that disengagement that he did. Right, top prison, drops down in the smoke. He's getting lasers from up top, even down low. What does he do? Well, he hops in the vehicle, gets away. Like, sometimes in Warzone, right, it's not just about the engagement. It's about getting into the fights. It's about disengaging as well. And I think, I don't know, Dandro, some of the best, man, they're able to disengage pretty well.
I feel like it's exactly what it was. So I'm curious to see what do some of the analysts have, because I know Seymour and Brody were waiting and watching that game, waiting to break it all down. I can't wait to see what they have to say.
Well, they definitely were, and I tell you what, Brody's out for the moment anyways. We'll pop in Dream. We get to talk about it and Seymour as well. Welcome back to the analyst desk. That is third game on broadcast, but the first game for Group C, right? And a chance to really see what they were all about. And I tell you what, it did not disappoint. Breadman in second place is a big one, but I think first let's start off with number one, and that has to be Levi.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge for Na'Vi in general. A newer org in the Call of Duty scene. We haven't really seen them around these parts before, but it looks like Levi's trying to shoot them up the leaderboards now because they didn't have a good showing in our first two matches. You saw that Limax was all the way near, I think it was like bottom 2 or bottom 3, or Limax wasn't playing too well. Yeah. So it's nice to see that Levi is coming to play here in Group C, trying to buff out those mistakes early on to try to get yourself a good end towards these groups. And I think towards the end, it comes down to the basics of Warzone, really. That height control over Breadman and Raul, instead of, you know, allowing them to keep up top. That was good play style from Levi.
You know, and I just wanted to add to that Limax played with Breadman last year, right, with Joe. So it's just like, kind of like old teammate. And I know that wasn't necessarily it, but still, Levi to be able to take that, you know, there's got to be some motivation, at least from Limax's end. But
let's get in there.
Let's get in there, right? But no, although I will say that Raul, yes, how amazing was it to see him maybe feeding off that energy, momentum teams we talked about, feeding that momentum into this game. Like, that's awesome to see Raul keep it slaying. But you notice a lot of these players were backing down, right?
Yeah.
Disengaging is super important, as you'd mentioned, and that's just going to be the key for some of these teams. Like, just the balance between being too aggressive, overly aggressive, but disengaging, and that play from Shifty, big brain, super, super key.
It was, and again, just to highlight that once more, Shifty to disengage in the way that he did was truly special. Like, in those moments, I think 99% of the players competing are most likely dead in that moment, right? You're not getting away from, I mean, seriously, you're not getting away. Well, you're not one of the players. If you were, you'd be making a lot of money, and then, well, then I'd become your best friend. I already am, let's be honest. But hey, Shifty to back away like that was really impressive to me, to get away. Ultimately, he's finished up. Breadman was waiting in the shadows, right? Just to kind of ruin his day after Shifty makes some miraculous play. Breadman's like, well, hold up, I'm not done just yet, and takes him out. But if, you know, looking at the highlights, you understand, like, what really took place. Huskers started us off strong with the down, the finish. Breadman was also there. Patsuka, let's talk about him. What was he doing on the battlefield?
I mean, it's another one where you're just kind of trying to buff things out for your team here. Vitality did not have a good first two games either, and Patsuka coming in, showing some good promise for this team. I know, you know, we talked about how they have that language barrier. You know, Patsuka coming in, showing that it's all down to the slang as well. But, you know, Jace, That was a funny moment, shooting fish in the barrels with that Car 98. I love to see just the fun moments here, but no, most importantly, that Vitality team, we know them to be renowned as one of the most dangerous teams in EU, and it's good to see Patsuka fighting for him.
Can we just talk about how Hisoka and Shifty kind of had a little one-on-one earlier in the game? Really? Like it seems like the Falcons can only just take each other out at this point, but we have like Biffle and earlier.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, these engagements definitely seemed more fast-paced. And yeah, Jace in the beginning, and what was surprising about that, I think, you know, offline Brody had mentioned it, it's surprising to see, like, he was sniping Allman. I don't know if Wars are there, Huskers, but you saw, like, good players hanging out in the beginning on the water edges, but kind of like, as we had mentioned, less snipers.
Right.
We thought it would be more, but there was less this one.
Yeah, it's also too dependent on zone. I'm curious how impactful they would have been. Now, I do know there was a moment, again, when Shifty was disengaging, there was a ton of teams on top of Prison, and that would have been a perfect place to kind of, you know, lay down the line of sight for the snipers. So I thought that would come out a little bit more there, but once we rotated down towards Factory Lake, that's where things started to get a little bit weird.
It's a little wonky there, because you were watching Jace, and you saw how many people were doing cannonballs into the water, and all of a sudden the gas is pulling onto the other side of Prison, and everybody has to go across Prison, so it just creates that big jumble on the inside that you did see. And I do kind of personally expect there to be a little bit less snipers, because it is Resurgence and it is solos. There's not a lot of time to really breathe before somebody just jumps on you. So you don't always want to have a sniper in your back pocket.
That's right.
I kind of like that strategy. Like, okay, guys, if we're dropping in, where are we landing? Where are we landing?
Right.
No, I'm asking, where are we landing?
I'm going Factory.
You're going Factory? See,
I'm landing in the water.
Okay, the rotations, that's the thing. You think about the POIs. Factory, sometimes it's just so hard to rotate out of there. I kind of like the Control Tense rotation, right? A little bit more cover, but even, you know, running up to Prison, the verticality going from Factory up to Prison can be very difficult.
Brutal.
It is brutal.
It is brutal.
But the key thing about Factory is you do get a lot of loot. You can pick up a lot of your weapon, a lot of resources early.
Right.
So, yeah, high risk, high reward. You got to just figure out what's best for you.
And that's true. You know, the thing about Rebirth is it's extremely punishing. If you're caught out on rotation, like especially now with the cars, you know, cars, right? It was obviously the sniper car, like it was nerfed, but like not so much to the point where it became irrelevant. It's still very much relevant. That's why we see it consistently. So you better believe if you're rotating late, you are going to get your head popped off. We've seen that consistently. Oh, yeah. But Rebirth, again, punishing. You have to have your rotations on point and be predicting ahead of time, especially if you're Factory and you can see the zone's going to be pulling up top Prison. You have to get a move on.
I mean, how many surprises are we going to have today so far? We got helicopters, we got cars, we got Jay coming out and winning in place of Destroy.
That was incredible.
Today, if this is how the next 3 days are going to be, I'm strapped in, I'm locked in, I'm ready to go.
100%, man. You know, it's already been great. 3 games down. Granted, it's only solos. Imagine when we get to the point of group play, right, tomorrow and day number 3, let alone championship day, like things are just going to get even more wild. But I do believe we have an interview with Shifty, if I'm not mistaken. Goj, what did Enigma, what did Shifty have to say? Are we bringing in our casters? It's time to go to another game. Are we bringing in a game?
Bring it to me!
Oh,
this is the problem, Reflections. It's Shift and Shifty. We're being real confusing out here for you.
Hey, I thought, look, first off, it's great to see you. Let me just say that, okay? Enigma, you're looking great, too. You guys are a duo for the age. Don't stop that, all right? Look, it's going to be a good day because, hey, game number 4, right? Group C's been taken over, and let's see if they can continue that narrative.
Yeah, I think the thing here, guys, that you're hitting it on the head when it comes down to what we've already evaluated to this point, plus what's yet to come. The thing about it is, does Shifty have to now be the guy to get Team Falcons back in the running? Because they're a little bit outside the conversation in terms of major seeding from today so far.
Absolutely has to, quite frankly. I mean, don't get me wrong, seeding, and you can overcome that in upcoming days. This is not the be-all and end-all for sure, but this is not what we were expecting, right? A lot of people have come into the interviews and through the media day now. All the conversations offline as well. Who's the best player in the world? Shifty. Well, it's more than ample time here to prove that you deserve that label.
And I think the thing that's really cool about this conversation is, you know, I think Katie Bedford said it in the opening ceremony last night. Everyone's talking about this Team Falcons team as this is their event to lose. Like, they should be the heavy favorites. But we forget sometimes that as much as they do find collective wins, we have a long history of what's happened in terms of Warzone as a collective whole. And when you swap from Big Map into Resurgence, everything kind of almost gets thrown out in the window a little bit.
No, it does for sure. It brings out something different, but the quality that team possesses, we should still be seeing that same Team Falcons, the side that said when coming into this tournament, if they win this and a couple of other big events this summer, they're a dynasty side. So time to see if they can step it up. And we're already underway here in map 4. A couple of kills coming on through. Can see Prodigy, Vision, Cams all lighting up the kill feed here.
Absolutely the case. And again, the early kills we've already kind of evaluated over the first 3 drops can be crucial. But we've seen a handful of players get to that end of the 3rd circle at 6, 7 eliminations, but not playing good positions. It ends up finding themselves outside the circle and outside of the major multipliers that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword in the way in which you play, and especially on Resurgence, it's a case of, you know, if you get those early kills, then you alleviate some pressure for the late game. You don't have to start to push through difficult positions up against players that are having an absolute heater. Meanwhile, if you're putting yourself on too much of a heater early on, you risk getting gunned by someone else.
Yeah, that has been, I think, the big factor. And we've also seen just the other side. You could find kills and play it safely just by scouting out who's parachuting into the water. It's just using that as kind of a farming point. So we'll see what the players decide to do here, especially as they get their 2nd, 3rd, and then unfortunately 4th drops individually as our groups continue to move forward. So Zix in particular on screen at the moment. And again, this is a team that could really use some points here, not doing all that well at the moment.
No, they are not. And essentially the home side, we've used that phrase a lot, I feel, already through the show, but this is 2 lads who are from Riyadh. They could walk to the arena, so they definitely want to be putting on a show, but it's not been their afternoon thus far. Very impressive in the World Series. They've improved every step of the way, but they're going to need to find a bit more about them today.
Absolutely the case, and just taking a look over it, Lukiness, Jukes, early lives down. Wars as well, also falling, as Guild Esports has been one of the major favorites, I think, for a lot of people who are looking at the EU space. Of course, I know you're obviously very biased. So between them and Alalula, that means sitting number 2 and number 3 at the moment in the overall team rankings, that's got to feel pretty good for the EU region.
Yeah, it feels great. I won't lie, at the minute, seeing the boys put on, they've been talking a lot on the timeline. You know, if we remove that ping factor, we can do big things. And, well, they're showing that nice and early on day 1. Obviously, we've got a long way to go. Yes, Stukeks just going to give Jace a moment here to potentially res, as it wasn't his knock, and will Jace pull it on through? I don't think Jace is willing to just give this up to Stukeks.
Look at me, dude. I'm sticking myself in. Yeah, look, trust me. And he tries to finesse it, but not going to work out. So the strategy ends up working out for the extra kill. Just 1 overall elimination to this point, and this is when we start to see everyone's starting to drop back in. We're going to get a lot of those water safety drops.
Yeah, we are indeed, and it's about who can start to play around that, as we saw Jace do earlier, maybe pick off a couple of easy kills. Meanwhile, Aiden has opted for Prison. A relatively uncontested space for once here. Maybe a case of people looking to play around the outside of the map, a bit more safety, and then collapse on in. But 3 kills already. It looks like Aiden may well have just laid siege to this whole arena.
And if that ends up being the case where he can just dominate the middle of the map like this with his preferred loadout, yikes. Watch out. He very well may overtake his teammate for top overall kills to this point. Clean initially, but woo, Maddie with a little drop shot pop up. Won't call it a full-on World Star turn on, but boy, it was close.
I mean, that exactly there is one of those moments that we are seeing throughout this tournament and how quickly your game can swing, right? We're talking about how good Aiden's looking, could well take kill leader off this back of this map, and then gets absolutely beamed by a player that he's probably not expecting to be challenging him.
Talk about things to be expected. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that Breadman's sitting on top of a tower with a sniper rifle right now?
I'm going to go with about a -4.
He's just looking to farm people coming out of the sky and, of course, see who he can find on rotation. Circle is still very forgiving in terms of where we're currently standing, but 4 players already out. Make that now another, as we're going to see number 37 in Wars actually down. So one of the members from Guild already down and out. Not the greatest drop for Wars initially. And we go back to Breadman, who's doing his Breadman thing.
He is indeed. Well, I was going to say he gets Brolic, but actually at the exact same time, Dongi's shooting him from elsewhere. Dongi gets that kill in the end. But yeah, this is exactly what Breadman said he was going to do in the interview that I had with him yesterday. He's going to find this kind of position. He's even going to look to do this kind of thing when we talk trios as well, provide coverage over his teammates. So, I mean, maybe just getting an early feel, a bit of lay of the land as Lenin looks to find himself some fish in a barrel.
And this is what we saw Breadman doing last game, where you're just waiting to see if anyone's going to drop over towards their loadouts in the water. You also see the laser up top, so Lenin can be a little bit careful as it is Izund right over the top of him. Not a great start here for Zund and Co., but things could change very rapidly, as we've already seen. Zeppa down and out as well. So again, a lot of early full-on eliminations at this point, still in the 2nd circle.
It is. Indeed, and we're starting to see a couple of players get compressed together. That prison spot no longer as quiet as it once was. Zixon Tenix are going to try and fight over the same spot, but Zix actually loses his face to Hoskers, and, well, Tenix actually looking to play in through the bottom, but has a couple of suppression mines to clear. Is likely going to suspect players above. Of course, we can see that we've just lost Zix up there, but he has absolutely no idea and currently trying to assess the situation, but it looks like there's actually a new person who's taken the whole region.
You figure. Dropping in, coming back forward, of course, with loadouts rather dropping in. Everyone's starting to find a way to, in this mid-game portion, get themselves kitted out for the late status. Lenin is waiting at this moment. A couple of the players nearby, kind of, if he does have to rotate more central into the island, but largely speaking, he's going to be very safe. And with 7 kills already, I think this is the time where you got to evaluate, I've already hit my mark, let me at least try to get to the top 15.
No, I agree completely. I think that once you start to put on a certain amount of kills, and that might well be where you're considering to start to temper yourself and maybe consider to play around the positional multipliers. And Patsuka here just looking to chase down Believe, has him cornered, isn't able to get some clean shots in. Actually takes quite a bit of damage on the way back, but just does enough to shut down Believe there, as it looks like he was going to make the outplay, but he has more company. Bullets in the back, going to have to dive out the window and likely going to be pressed here. Needs a moment to just breathe and allows himself a second to reset.
Yeah, clean. And again, you can see it on the minimap, 3 players nearby, but all the elevation that comes to the building kind of deterring them from finding each other and actually taking the next gunfight. Also a player rotating in. So this is about to get a little bit messy. That's Hamud who's on his way forward, and he's not going to have a lay of the land. So he's just diving on forward, trying to see if he can get good contact, but Patsuka perfectly prepared for it. Finds himself kill number 4, and then trying to third party. Yep, that will play. So an opportunity to try to get a couple for Patsuka, but he's got to reset.
He is indeed, and we still have 32 players up. This feels like a little bit of a slower map than the ones that we've been watching throughout this tournament so far. Maybe sides trying to adjust their strategies. A couple of players not getting off to the hot starts that they've wanted and looking to reassess how they play. And Nena's here looking to just take control of industry and give himself an opportunity here to patrol the edge of this circle as it squeezes up.
And this is all about, yeah, I was going to say, perfect time to take a look at who's actually rotated in early. Prison is still one of the main focus points as Breadman continues to find himself in the kill feed. That's got to be at least 5 for him to this point.
At least.
So that's a good start in terms of how you get yourself going. Believe has been squad wiped out, so that's another kind of key team to keep our eye on here as this circle starts to close on in, and eventually we're going to deal with no more respawn.
Vision is on 12. I mean, we've been talking a lot about what Guild are potentially bringing to the table here. We saw that King AJ had himself a solid performance earlier. Vision as well has been looking really good throughout his, but 12 at this stage, 30 players still remaining in this, along with the resurgence timer, of course. Opportunity to potentially break 20 of lot to do yet, but looking real hot. Stu, another European trying to pick out Liam, and well, he's going to have to chase after. Didn't do enough, and he's got company from elsewhere. Bullets catch him from the side.
Yeah, that's going to keep him at least staying on this rooftop while he's in pursuit. And this is an interesting rotation all the way over towards the backside of the freight ship. And Elo's right below him, but this is all about him again. I think just playing for position. You're at 10 kills already. You got to be feeling really solid about your opportunity to actually score some points, where others are dropping in just looking for safety and just trying to keep their lives.
You're not wrong. Speaking of safety, Brolic here trying to use the top of the water tower to protect himself. Has Breadman underneath him. I'm not exactly sure how Breadman's not recognized that Brolic's above him and likely will at some point. The silencer on that sniper potentially just keeping him covered momentarily. Carnat in hand. We'll hear Brolic above because Brolic's actually just cleaned out Hisoka, and the team Falcons continue to struggle here, Shift.
It's really just been Shifty, the only one who's been able to put together really any notable kills to this point, let alone placements. So top 30 only gets you a 1.2 times multiplier. The next checkpoint we're looking for is to see who can crack into the top 15 as we head over to, again, a replay of what Patsuka's been able to do over through the inside. Now he finds himself, again, a little bit trapped in gate kept as this is all about what can you find for gear trying to rotate through. Breadman still very worried about Brolic up top, and rightfully so after the threat had already been established.
It's a problem for him looking to rotate on off there, right? Whoever makes that first jump is likely going to be shot by the other. You've got to assume that Brolic landed on top of that water tower, so likely looking low on resources, so he might have to go first with no gas mask, but does Brad have the gas mask to counter that play himself? Hilo actually finds Stuo. Stuo ends up going out, and, well, Bread gets pushed. Brolic deals with him. Bread's out of here.
That is perfect timing, because you're dealing with now circle number 4 starting to come together, and Brolic has now owned some high ground. It's going to have to parachute in towards the safer circle. And the wipes continue on coming. Again, 3 more is what we need before we get into that next multiplier. And then we're dealing with just looking for the top 5 as we head back over to see how Vision's doing on 14. And yeah, the call on at this point is at least get top 15. But ideally, brother, let's find a way to get top 5.
Yeah, 100%. You get yourself that top 5, you get yourself that 1.7. I mean, you are starting to put yourself in the higher numbers of individual games that we've seen throughout this entire tournament. You know, the kind of numbers we're talking about. Z-Smith off of drop 1, but he's got a lot of company here in Showers. A couple of players to just pay attention to, and the problem is with this whole prison region, there's so many entryways, so many exits, there's a lot to keep track of.
And indeed the case, it looks like he's just trying to find himself a little bit of a corner. Smoke still 2 to play with, but finds himself now right into a cell. And this is exactly what it is. I mean, this is a confirmation that Vision is just sitting here saying, just don't, where's Waldo? Just don't find me. It's a game of hide and seek for him while everyone else is still trying to fight for some positioning. Circle's going to close. Where are we going to get pulled to?
Yeah, well, Lenin's trying to play too late there. That's a difficult rotation to make. It's uphill. It's against the grain. Nysons will just shut him down and remove him from the board. Looked like Lenin earlier was getting off to a solid start, but that'll bring his reign to an end. And, well, you can see here, this is where we start to get that view from the wonderful cardcaster that we have available of all the players trying to set up for endgame positions.
And this is the thing, is this circle is pulled extremely south and west of where we were from before. So this is all about, again, try to own this high ground, which Oki is really committing a lot to. A little bit of a dash right on forward. Oki doesn't like the look of it through the smoke, so backs off, seeing if maybe he can kind of surprise from the low ground. But any Star Wars fan will know, you don't want to fight from the low ground, especially off of a reset, which it looks like we're starting to get, and Oki will have to forfeit the position.
Honestly, this looks a little bit nervy for Oki. He's an individual player with a lot of gun skill, a lot of ability to take on these 1v1 fights, but wasn't quite sure about how to play that one. I think it's the aggression from Tenix that surprises him a little bit. The fact that he was willing to jump out of the tower towards him, fight over this positioning. You can see H-Mood in particular having the building here sent it off to the next zone, and Tenix is going to contest him for it.
Yeah, and they may hear each other here. They're both pretty privy to take this gunfight. Speaking of things as well that we saw earlier, Hazuka having a great map in a good position to continue as Vision now makes himself active, forced to because of the zone. He's won prison out completely, so now everything else is just going to be right in front of him. Most notably, just the players that are kind of holding into the central buildings, which he even sees Almond at range. Vision's on a burner.
One problem here for Vision is he's got to make that play, right? He has to make that dive, burn the gas mask out from spending too long in prison. Will not get the top 5, falls just short, but will get that top 15 multiplier at least. Hamoud then, tucked inside. Oki has managed to pick his roof back up and after being pushed away by Tenix and spots Stable J underneath, lights up a couple of bullets. The gas goes out and it is connecting. Will force Stable J out of the cover. A great play from Oki, but he's got more company here. What can he do? And he explodes, and those are the kind of things that Oki can deliver.
And now he's got the high ground. You've got Tenix who's still trying to work around the backside of this smoke. The rotating zone will get him into the back corner of it. Dongi also putting together a solid game on 9 kills. Is in a good spot to just kind of read where the next rotations are coming from, but will he know that Tenix is right around the corner?
You feel like everyone just holds their breath. Who blinks first? Well, Oki is going to try and ask a couple of questions from the high ground here, looking out over the top. He's got Dongi off to his left. Tenix down to his right.
This is legitimately the definition of Mexican standoff. Where does the zone pull? Tenix is going to be the first one to move. Oki right over the top, depending on what his timing is, could set up to actually watch this rotation. Dongi not going to be the first one to shoot. Wants to be the third party here, but Oki gets the damage in and finishes off Tenix really cleanly. So now we've got a delayed 1v1. Oki the one that has to make the move, but Dongi gets obliterated. I mean, are we kidding? What a little head glitch on top of the rocks. And Oki finishes off the last couple of kills to take the dub.
I mean, I'm just going to go back to that play he made on the rooftop, right, against Hamoud. The fact that he gets pushed in that second fight, you could easily see the end of your reign there, but he spins, snaps, delivers in a huge 1v1 and sees it out with some fantastic endgame positioning. Just having that little heady over the top there gives him all the angles he needs. And as you said, you made your Star Wars reference there, my friend. You want the high ground.
Goodness gracious. That is great news for Team Abwiz, which, again, we weren't really sure what to expect from this squad because Abwiz got, you know, in some words, kind of gifted a little bit of a captain spot. But, you know, hey, you find yourself fortunate to have the opportunity, and he puts together an incredible team. They were sitting in 4th overall before these results came through. So they got to be feeling really decent about their chances at this point to put together a really solid seed going into the rest of the groups.
Absolutely. I think it'll put a lot of belief into them as well. I mean, we spoke a little bit about this in the pre-show, and this is a lineup of players that, especially Wiz and Oki, we were speaking about them not long ago as being a duo that were very exciting coming through into the customs and looked to be the real deal. And then last year played with FIFA Kill in the World Series. It was a bit underwhelming, to be completely honest with you. And it was like, okay, how do you bounce back from that disappointment when FIFA Kill leaves you behind? Well, Oki is delivering right now through this year and is doing it again here at the Esports World Cup.
And that puts him, I'm sure, in a really good position in the individual kill leaderboard as well as the overall. And it could not be calmer for Oki overall. He's just like, all right, what's next? it's unreal.
I don't know about you, but if I just pulled off a performance like that at the Esports World Cup at that age, I would have been freaking out. But he just seems like it's another given Sunday for him, so he's just going to get himself sorted, get himself out of here, and he seems to have a conversation there with Allman. I think that's one of the great things about this whole competition so far. The players seem to be very much enjoying each other. But we are going to get a last look out over this play.
This has to be a nasty heady. I mean, even looking down towards Dongi's position, he didn't show much, so this must have been an absolute snap and a half. How do you see this? Because it's initially smoke that comes through. There's the damage. Tenix, I imagine just, okay, very cleanly finished with the Car 98. That was right after the double smokes had been popped. So this is just about Oki finding the info and, whoa, I mean, melted.
Absolutely beams him. I mean, again, you do have that position, but you've got the situation where the wall can cover up there. It can make that fight difficult for you, but he does not miss a single shot. Again, showing why he had that reputation, showing the kind of technical ability he brings to these fights.
And maybe if we're being like overcritical, Dongi maybe gets a little bit or a little antsy because the kill comes out. It's just like, is he right in front of me?
Yeah.
So he tries to peek it, but the rotation hadn't happened yet because of how clean the first kill was from Oki. It's great stuff from him.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on. You're maybe trying to third-party this situation, right? You could see that he didn't want to shoot first. He was going to let everything unfold in front of him and then go, surprise, I'll clean this all up. No, you just got absolutely smoked by Oki on a heater. And again, I repeat, I go back to that play that he made on that rooftop. If he falls there, which I think if he had fallen, we'd have been like, oh, yeah, fair enough. You've been third-partied at the end of a gunfight, fair enough, whatever. But the fact that he snaps on there keeps that streak alive. Again, putting belief into a young man who, I think if you light a fire under him, he's a real powerhouse.
And I think overall, this sparks a conversation that's going to transition from what, the conversation has been around Big Map World Series of Warzone in particular is there is not much of a window when it comes to finishing off a gunfight. You either need to know, I'm in, I can finish this, or this isn't clean, I gotta back off and make sure I deal with the potential of a third, fourth, fifth party when it comes to things in Resurgence. So lots of interesting things already just past the halfway point in our solos drop as Taylor and the rest of the desk break everything down for us.
Well, there it is. The first introduction of Group C has concluded, and that would be the last game for Group A, right? They get all 4 of them done. Group B still has to get 2 more themselves. But that was 2 quick games, as we've already seen right from the first iteration where Group A versus B. But the big thing here is not necessarily the most dominant player, but at least the most dominant when it came to our final game was Oki taking the win.
And he, he comes in second place all the way back in game number 2.
That's
Oki's been playing fantastic. It all comes down to, Enigma early on, giving a big shout to Oki and Awiz, their whole team just coming up. They've been playing fantastic lately, and I think that to see Oki doing it over the course of not just one group, but 2 groups, it's showing that consistency here that, even with new players in the lobby, he's still here to play.
Yep.
And another top 3 finish, a top 2 finishes, that's amazing.
Amazing indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say I could add a point to that too, because like with Oki, he's just one of those players that would thrive in this setting, because you remember him playing with FIFA Kill when he played with FIFA and Wiz, and like it was just this problem where, okay, you see Wiz and Oki going out, okay, gotta reel the boys back in, but for this setting for Oki, like he can just literally thrive, pick up a lot of those eliminations, and like, I mean, you just saw it right there. He's looking pretty scary.
And I mean, to see the top third too, Tenix in there as well from Omid, I mean, we didn't really talk much about Omid coming into this one, but it's a huge tournament for these players, especially under the brand of Omid, players who are kind of left out of the rest, players who don't really have a home. That's the brand of Omid, and they separate into the World Series of Warzone, they find their struggles, they come back together for EWC, and now to see Tenix in top 3, that is really big.
It is big. Tenix, was in a bad position though. He was by tens, and he gets sniped out from Zidongi, who takes second place. So good on him for doing so. Zidongi, ringing a bell for you anyways, right? Coming out from the fantasy team?
I mean, Dongy hasn't really been playing the best today. I know that, especially in games 1 and 2, but it's nice to see him get a top 2 finish here. Tough spot being on the low ground. We know from the movies how the low ground goes, but
that's true.
For Dongy here, it doesn't work out either.
Doesn't work out, but second place. He'll take that to the bank. That's okay, and at least shows some new life. As we look through the highlights, you have to respect, though, some new positioning. And before we get into positioning, I want to talk about the regain. Regaining is so important when it comes to Resurgence. You're bound to die at least a couple of times. So whenever you go to drop in again, Dream, what are you doing?
So okay, let's just use this scenario. We're playing, right? What do you guys are used to hearing when you're playing ranked play even? Regain spot, right? Yep. You're thinking the boats. One thing that I noticed that we've seen lurking around the boats is Pasuka, right? Yep. So you got some good players lurking around the boats, but what's great about it is like you're thinking, all right, I can just regain here, but there's a good player with a loadout just come and smash you. Like he had 10 eliminations, so that you got to figure maybe these boats for some of these good players can be a good spot to utilize to just pick up players as they're trying to regain in.
Yeah.
Could be. Boats, it's interesting because they're on the outside, so you think they're relatively safe, and it could be a regain spot. But you were saying, though, there were some top players actually hanging out around those boats looking for those looking to go for the regain. So that makes things a little bit scary, too, because you never know who you're going to be landing on. And weirdly enough, we've been seeing a lot of people try to regain in the water.
Yeah, in the water, you saw Jays kind of picking them apart in the last game. We see the boats. Now it's punishing them over to Patsuka and the rest of Team Vitality. It's the same thing with Schmidt back in our first set of games as well, why he drops that 14-kill game. It's players taking advantage of other players putting themselves in bad situations, and there's no worse situation than when you're just respawning back into Resurgence.
Yeah, and as we just saw there, too, Vision's just completely, like, dominating every single level of Prison.
Yes.
And I mean, like, look at how many eliminations he has. But the great thing about Prison is you can escape and recover so quickly and dodge so fast. So even for Oki, who, again, just picking up kills on the high ground over here on the opposite side, rotating from Living. But either way, like, the levels of this, like, type of competitive play, you have to be able to get out fast. And I mean, for Prison, that's just a really key spot. Visions, he picked up a lot of eliminations, possibly our lobby leaderboard in, like, for elims, or top per map.
Yeah, in general, I think he picks up the most, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the kill record,
yeah.
15.
Kill record. There you go.
He beat Smith out from that first 2 games. We thought that, maybe Z Schmidt comes out here and he's just at the top with Twisted Minds. And then, seeing Visions come out here for Guild. I'm sure, Brody, he's not with us right now on the desk, but I'm sure he's just all giddy seeing his team.
He's with the cat.
Exactly. He's with the cat. Just happy to see Guild doing well.
Vision, man. He was at 14 very early on. I think he finishes with 15. He might have got maybe one more, but either way, he picks up the elimination lead. As far as the 4 games we've seen today, so will we hit 20? See, that's the big thing. 20 is always a magical number. And whenever I'm watching, streamers play or competitors compete, it's like 20 on Rebirth. Can they hit it? And in fact, sometimes they're like, hey, other players back off. Don't pick up that final one because I'm at 19 and I'm going for 20. So you're hoping at least your teammates are on board with that, not feeling a bit stingy themselves. But Breadman, first introduction in here. He comes in. We talk about his sniping abilities. What did we notice from him in Game 4?
I mean, I was really impressed with him in game number 3 when he was playing very dynamic with the sniper. He was moving around. You even saw him have a really good moment versus Shifty, where he's kind of playing that space, forcing Shifty to get aggressive onto him. But in game number 2, it's very traditional to see the snipers get posted up and towards a high ground position like the water tower, and you hope that it's going to net you a lot of kills. But for Breadman, it seemed like it wasn't really in his favor with everybody trying to take him down or people just leaving him alone. It really comes down to you hitting those shots. And I know, everybody in their interviews were saying they take Breadman over Huskers when it comes down to those snipers, but it just doesn't seem like it is going to net you the amount of kills that's going to shoot you up the leaderboard like you were hoping to.
Yeah, I know Danjo ended up asking me, like, Huskers or Breadman. I'm like, it has to be Breadman as my top sniper
Bucket
out there.
Hat B.
Bucket Hat is going big, baby. But I will say this, Breadman, we had a chance to actually interview him. Let's hear what Breadman had to say.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh. I am Enigma, and today we're doing interviews, and I am joined by one of the best players in the world, and that is Breadman. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling amazing, bro. I'm feeling amazing. I'm just happy to be here.
How are you feeling about the week ahead? How are you feeling about the tournament as a whole?
I like how it's spread out. I feel like we've got time to kind of get nice and nestled in and get used to everything. But being on the keys, like, it's all about the game time. So I'm really excited to just get my equipment in there and just start practicing.
I mean, you brought it up straight away. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard, does it put you at a disadvantage?
For my play style, no. But like a player like Huskers, for example, he plays like he's on the controller, which just makes him, he's just different. Like no other player doing that. I believe we may be one of the only 2 mouse and keyboard players here, which is crazy, but I try not to think about it like that. Like, you know, if I lose a gunfight, it's on me.
You spoke about your play style a little bit there, and I respect you saying that it's on you. Let's face it, that's not always the opinion that someone takes. But while we're talking a little bit about how you play, snipers. We know that at the minute they're a bit controversial, whether or not they're in, they're out. What's your opinion? Should one-shot snipers be in this?
I think so. I mean, for me personally, regardless of the meta, I've been using snipers for the last 4 years competitively. Even back to the first Twitch Rivals event, I used the Kar 98, and you know, 4 years later, we're using the same Kar 98 kind of, which is pretty dope. But no, I mean, I feel like there is some skill involved with like 3-2-1-ing, where like, you know, I'll snipe someone and then Joe, for example, could tag him and they go down. But I think that people are just scared of snipers because of Warzone 2, where the movement was so slow and...
Yeah. Saw a tweet saying, I don't know about you guys, but I get shot like 2 or 3 times in a full afternoon of games. If you're getting sniped regularly, maybe it's a you problem.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is that something that, you know, you come into this, you're thinking, well, look, you just got to get out of the way of what I'm shooting at?
Yeah, I mean, that was more specifically for pubs, and like, I do feel like, personally, since I snipe, I don't get sniped much because I'm just sniping the people sniping at me. But if you're running around with an AR, I get sniped all the time.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I was kind of lying a little bit when I'm like, dude, in 8 hours, I'm not getting sniped. Trust me, I am, bro. And I'm like, dude, we got to get these cars out of the game. But for competitive, since they're not one-shotting, I think that the car is one of the best like competitive snipers we've had because you can get aggressive with it. You see a lot of controller players picking it up. Like Joe is a big flex with it. We'll both snipe sometimes, especially on rebirths. So I think that the car fits into the meta very well.
Do you think you're one of the best players in the game?
I honestly don't ever think about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like if I, you know, was in my head like that, like a big ego, I feel like I'd start doing worse. You know?
Okay.
I do think I'm one of the best mouse and keyboard players, and that's only because there's not many. Yeah. But like, I try not to think about stuff like that because I just feel like it'll make me worse.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not something that you put onto you, but do you have a person that you look to in the space right now and think best player in the world?
Biffle, for sure. I mean, Biffle, Shifty, or Soka, they're all the best.
I'm going to get you to pick one. No offense, sitting.
Shifty. Okay, I'll go Shifty. But I do think that Biffle has been the most consistent, obviously, over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
There was a time when I got into competitive a bit late in 2021, and obviously Warzone came out in 2020. And so, I mean, he was already dominating it back then. And then there was a big thing with, you know, people thinking Shifty was hacking. And then Soka, I played one of the first tourneys that Soka ever played. I played with him, and we did awful. I was like, dude, he's not that good. But no, he is that good, I promise you. It was just, you know, it was a little slow start. But I'd go Shifty, final answer.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Breadman representing Cloud9 here at the Esports World Cup. Wishing you all the best of luck this week, man.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Big Breadman. Okay, good to hear from him. The snipers are out, but where'd the hair go?
Listen, I gotta say, one of the questions. Oh, hold on.
Hello.
Good morning. Nice of you to join us.
Welcome in.
Listen.
One of the questions about Breadman, though, I will say, I gotta say. All right, listen.
Let's hear it.
Mouse and keyboard. That was one of the questions. Like, would he be affected, like, playing against other controller players? But he said, no, I don't think about stuff like that.
Well, it's when you get him in a high position, right? I mean, he was in the tower for, like, the longest time in that game. I'm not surprised he's getting kills. You get a player like that and keyboard and mouse. Look, listen, I'll be honest with you guys. Whenever I play a keyboard and mouse player on online COD, I get pretty ragey. If I went up against Breadman in that position, it's a cheat code. It's cheating, let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is, guys. It's much better. Keyboard and mouse players, they're insane. Breadman, though, I think we'll give him a pass. He's so good.
I'm not going to say it's a cheat code at all. I see the way I hold shift plays mouse and keyboard in Warzone.
That's not keyboard and mouse. That's I hold shift. Okay, that's him.
Don't diss the Italian stallion, all right?
Italian stallion, I hold
shift.
Wow. Okay, the ultimate gas coming out, and then the ultimate roast. Oh, Shift's not catching a break in this. My lord.
He doesn't deserve it.
Oh my goodness. Well, nice to have you back first and foremost. I know
Thanks,
you
mate.
were out there probably trying to pet the cat that we saw a little bit earlier.
I was on the hunt. I couldn't find it. I was searching around, and I honestly.
Seymour was the one that originally found it, right? you found the cat.
Puckett had the cat too. The cat's just been all over the place.
Cat's been all over the place. And speaking of being all over the place, we were all over the place yesterday, but we also had our crew go out, walk the boulevard. Let's see what's out there.
What's up? It's Puckett outside, and as you can see, the sun is down. The city of Riyadh is cooling off, and if you weren't cool enough, well, they got some awesome misters for you. I feel like I'm at an amusement park, and all of this built in the last 6 months. It's absolutely incredible. As you can see, we've got the Amazon Arena. We've got a brand new, what is this, diner? Deli? Blacktop. No way. Black Tap. That is one of my favorite places in New York City. If you need a milkshake, hit that spot up right now. But of course, it's all about the games here in Riyadh. We've got everyone testing their might. You can win some serious cash over here, but the players inside, they know what's on the line. $1 million for our Warzone competitors. I don't expect anyone to come out and enjoy the Boulevard yet tonight, but by the end of this weekend, you know we could be partying on these streets. Pretty awesome stuff. All live from Riyadh. This is the Esports World Cup.
Man, I tell you what, yesterday when we were walking the Boulevard, I was absolutely blown away. It's just how incredible it was. So much money's been put into it, but also attention to detail. You've got American brands, you've got European brand, you got Tim Hortons, Canadian, something like that.
Love my Timmies.
I'm out for that.
There's everything out there, and I tell you what, it has been such a good experience. Puckett got to experience it himself. Hopefully he comes back and does his job, though. It doesn't stay out there too long. He's talking about partying and all of that, but maybe we'll get a chance to go visit.
Maybe he's brought the cat.
Maybe he is.
He's definitely not coming back if he's there.
Maybe that's a fact. Maybe he's the cat whisperer. Well, hey, we do have a good interview. Levi, who ended up winning game number 1 of the next group, right? Group A through C. We had Barney actually sit down and have a chat with Levi. Let's hear what they had to say.
Welcome back to the main stage where I am joined by Levi from Na'Vi. An incredible performance so far in today's matches. Obviously, there's plenty more to go. But today, Levi, is kind of about showcasing your individual ability, right? So how are you feeling after your 4 matches?
That was fun. That was really fun to go out there and get a win. It was just awesome, yeah. Solos is really fun, yeah.
So speaking of your win, to be honest, listening to the guys on the desk, the analysts, they were all talking about it was a really smart way to win. You held back, you didn't push Breadman, and you kind of waited until you could get height to close out the match. Is that kind of the plan? Was it to hold back?
As soon as I seen those 3 people up, including me, like me as the third, you can never initiate. So I'm just baiting, and as soon as I see them fighting, I'm like, all right, I gotta go in now. That's all it is to it, yeah.
And now, finally just being here, enjoying this event and embracing everything that's around us. How did it feel at the top of the show to hear your name called out? You get to walk out onto the stage, and not only that, representing Na'Vi as well.
No, it's awesome. This whole experience has been amazing. I just want to thank EWC and Na'Vi for having us. This thing is unreal. This is an event like nothing other before, honestly. This is unreal.
We were also speaking a little bit off camera, weren't we, just about how the real work begins tomorrow. The trios is really going to be where you put your foot down. How are you feeling about the trios going into tomorrow? Now that you've got reps on the stage, is there that confidence now?
Yeah, 100%. It was cool to get a win and all, but it's all about the bigger picture. Tomorrow's when it starts to matter. It was fun. It was fun and it was cool, but tomorrow's when it counts. Yeah.
Levi, I'm really excited to see what you guys bring to the table throughout the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining me in this interview. Best of luck, man. All right, for now, we're going to go back to the studio so we can carry on the rest of the show, but we've got 2 more maps to go, and it's going to get spicy. See you in a bit.
Gonna get spicy indeed, Barney, and it's already been spicy today. That was Levi talking out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one big thing that Levi was kind of talking about was he's waiting for those trios days. Solos has been a little bit tough for Na'Vi. Levi gets the win, but other than that, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the rest of the team. But we know that Zeppa and Limax, they have previous experience playing together on teams even outside of Warzone in the multiplayer circuit. So to see that, they're struggling here, I'm sure it's no worry for them for when they do come together in the trios tomorrow.
Trios tomorrow is going to be interesting because I expect everybody to be warm up. That litmus test is now completed, but does it affect you, right? So let's actually go to you, Infinity, because does it affect you if you have a bad solo day? Is it like you go into group play and you're like, that's just a bad cloud hanging over you?
See,
I think it depends who you are, right? I think we were talking about Falcons maybe having not such a good start to the day. I don't think they're going to care. Like, I'll be straight up honest about it. I think Falcons will be fine. They're the kind of roster that will bounce back.
Sure.
But if you're one of those teams that's coming in here as the lower seeded teams, right? You know, teams from international areas where maybe you're trying to prove yourself here and you don't have that good set of day number 1 games. I think that is a situation where, yeah, all right, that does start to affect you. And I think that's the difference in me. I think it's going to be the bigger teams. Nah, you'll be fine. The smaller teams, you know, the ones that maybe are the underdogs in this situation, I think those are the ones where maybe it might get in their heads a little bit.
Or it's just, you know, the Destroys who don't even want to play the solo days.
Oh, yeah. Destroy is, you know, not here.
Well, I think he's a little bit under the weather, but the good news is his brother, though, did play. And I'll tell you what, you know, again, I go back to just a couple of days ago, you know, seeing them, I think, coming for breakfast or whatever, and I was like, you know, oh, who's this? Oh, it's my brother. He comes to pretty much all my events if he can, right? He's one of his biggest supporters.
That's
and
awesome.
I know it is awesome, and it means a lot for Jay, given the fact that he's a competitor himself. He's a shot hitter. We saw that. He wins game number 2 of the day and does so in a phenomenal way, taking on Z-Smith, who had been absolutely phenomenal up until that point, right? Ultimately getting first place at least after we see the leaderboard after game number 2. So you got to give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to. And I mean, I think about Destroy back in like COD 4 remastered days, playing from his closet. Wow. Like, this guy has evolved so much. And I mean, right? And I mean, he's always got that energy, that hype. And I mean, you know, shout out Destroy. I hope he feels better. Maybe we'll see him come back in and pop off in trios. But for his squad, though, I mean, even just being able to qualify, getting 7th, and Raul, right? Raul had a lot of eliminations on that last map. And I mean, like, you think about that and that energy just from Jay, Destroy's got to be proud. And that momentum, a heavy momentum team, it's got to carry over to Greece.
Well, I'm personally proud of one player. His name is Visions, who ended up picking up 15 eliminations, rocking prison. Hey, how far could he have went if he didn't end up going down? That's the question I have. Let's go to the STC Arena with Milosh, who's talking to Visions.
Welcome back, everybody, to the STC Arena here live from Riyadh at the Esports World Cup. With me is Vision, our victor here from Guild, and we have a bit of a chat because you are insane. Like, we'll talk about map 4 in a sec, but still, first 3 maps, 18 kills. Guide me through what's going on.
In the beginning, I just took it a little bit slow, you know, like I was just like, how do you explain that? I mean, I was just like taking it slow into prison, like getting a few kills, but then like I got a little bit tactically, yeah, exactly.
You know, going in from map 3 to 4, now you popped off 15 kills. Like, did things just line up for you, or was there more strategy in your mind for it?
What I wanted to say in the beginning was that in the beginning I just took it a little bit slowly. I just tried to get a little bit of kills, just see where people are landing, of course. And then the last game I just knew what was going on. I knew I didn't get contested. I knew there was no one landing on me. So I was fine for the last game. I knew how I had to play it. I was just sitting in bottom prison the whole game, just holding it on lockdown. Everyone that came in had no chance. Yeah, what do you want me to say?
And did excellently, to say the least. Now, what do you think were those stumbling blocks in the first 3 games? Did you just needed to get into the vibe of it? Or how was it?
Yes, I needed to get a little bit in the vibe. Like, I just needed a little bit of the LAN feeling, like the feeling of having people in front of you and also having people watch you back home. But the last game, everything fell into pieces.
It clicked. You have a huge stage. You got people watching in here and at home. It adds extra stress to it. But it didn't matter because you came out at number 1. So that's pretty impressive. But now the focus is on trios tomorrow. What do you feel about that?
I feel like solos is, of course, something completely different. Solos, you can get killed from behind in a second and you don't even know where it's coming from. Tomorrow it's all about team play. And I think team play, we have that plenty, so we have that on lockdown for tomorrow.
I mean, if you can do kills and get team play, that's a bonus.
I feel like at least I don't get killed from behind. My teammate has my back, no? Yeah.
There you go. You can rely on your teammates. That's what we got from Guild. Thank you very much, Vision, and congratulations again on the win. Back to the studio.
Thank you for that, Milosh. As Vision saying, hey, you can rely on your teammates, but at least when it comes to solos, he can rely on himself, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely he can. We were looking to see this Vision come and play today, and we absolutely saw it there in that game number 4. And again, context for those of you guys who aren't aware, Vision has been on this path, right? This kind of bounce back, if you will, from being dropped at the end of the 2023 season by Jukes and Lenin. Controversially so, because a lot of people put stock into Vision.
Yep.
He's come into this season, and what? I mean, he's done insanely well. He just won European Regionals, and now we're seeing him here in the Esports World Cup doing stuff like this.
Yeah, match ranking, right? This comes from that match where he pops off with 15 eliminations. Now, notice he sits there with 21 points. The big thing, he doesn't get the win. That was actually Oki Seymour. However, Vision, because his 15 elims and that multiplier, he still was able to secure first place for game number 4.
Yeah, it's nice to get the win and all, but it's how long have we been talking about this in Warzone, especially considering those multipliers are so big?
Yes.
It does have impact if you're getting kills or not. I mean, placement, sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that Vision is finding that value. Like you said, he has
Right.
a lot of players investing into him, and for him himself to be showing that on his own, when he doesn't need to be anchored down by his other 2 players, when he doesn't have to have that system in place that they're so used to, he can fly on the map, he can play through prison, he can feel safe to do what he does best,
Right.
and that's just kill people. It's what's going to be bringing this guild team into that powerhouse spot that Brody was talking about earlier.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, he did state, right? He was uncontested. He kind of played slow a little bit. It seems like they, like, as we mentioned, have a plan, right? Implementing that plan, but being able to utilize it is important. For Visions, though, I mean, working around prison,
Yeah.
you guys know how easy it can be to pick up eliminations, but how quickly you can get out of dodge.
Well, I was looking at those replays, right? I mean, it's like Vision in prison. You were talking about the level. Well, we have been discussing the levels of prison, right? You got the rooftop, which typically is where everybody wants to be, right? But then you also have the stairs, you've got the middle, and then you have the lower portion, which is always scrappy, especially late game, especially if that's where zone's going. Everybody's rushing into the prison cells, trying to get up top,
Yeah.
And you've got to try and protect that. Those levels make a difference, and I got to say, Vision was masterfully holding it down. We take a look at our overall leaderboard. We get to see who's leading the charge now, and it is, in fact, Vision over in first.
Wow.
And by the way, take note, okay? Take note, Seymour. 33 total eliminations.
That's just insane. 44.8 points, leading the top. Oki just underneath them, where we talked about Oki having 2 big finishes so far on the day. It drops down those Twisted Mind players all the way to 5th and 6th. Z-Smith and Aiden both alongside each other. And then, you know, my man Dongy in 7th place. He's up there too.
Doggy's making it happen. We go down the list a bit. I do see Huskers making a little bit of an attempt going up. Obviously, this is page number 2. War sitting in 22nd at the moment. Still looking through, you know, a couple of familiar faces, a lot of familiar faces really being down there. But Dream, at the end of the day, it is solos. There's still 2 more games to go. Not for Group A, though, right? Now it's all about Group B and Group C to kind of finish it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one name I was surprised to not see up there that we normally see that always is on the top, at least in terms of eliminations and lands, is Biffle.
Biffle, yeah. Biffle is one of those guys that you would expect to be performing very well, but he has been getting into a little bit of tussle with the muscle, right? We're talking Team Falcons taking each other down, okay?
Yeah.
It seems like you look at it, right? And it's like, dude, how many Falcons members can take down other Falcons members? It's almost like they're intentionally doing it just to have a little bit of fun because they're not worried about...
They're nerfing themselves.
They're nerfing themselves. But again, they're like, dude, it's time to prove that I'm one of the best out there. Got an interview on stage with Balash. Let's hear what one of the players had to say.
Welcome back to the SEC Arena, everybody. And with us is Oki, joining us here from Team Abwas. First of all, great performance, but you looked calm even after the victory. You're cool as a cucumber.
It's all about composure in those end games, and, you know, like, the adrenaline obviously was there, but you just got to stay calm and collected regardless of what happens. You know, stay humble.
It is a lot to take in because you're here on the stage, you got equipment you're not used to, even though, you know, you have your own setup. It's daunting to many players, but that doesn't seem to bother you at all.
I mean, going from my setup, this is a huge upgrade. I mean, from going from 1440 to 1080, that is the only difference. But on Resurgence Island, small map, it doesn't really matter too much. But my shot felt so good. Like, usually those few milliseconds of delay, because I only stream on one PC, got like a 3070. These PCs are amazing, like responsiveness, everything. And I'm just really happy to be here. Like, everything's amazing.
only the best for the best in the world here at EWC, and you got 9 kills in map 2 for the win. Were you taking it more tactically in the game? Because it felt like there were times where things had a lull, a bit of slowdown.
It definitely slowed down a little bit, but without, obviously information and anything, like, you just got to take your time around the map. Like, I took my time. I still ended up with 9 kills every single map, 7-7. First game got sniped, is what it is, but I don't know. I felt really composed, and I felt like I played everything perfectly, regardless on how slow that regain was. It still got me to a better position. I retook height and, fried out.
I think it's something we've been hearing from our players so far is that, if we're playing solos, sometimes you just have to assume you're going to die to something you can't really expect. Trios is where things really change up. How are you feeling for that communication-wise and comfort?
Really excited. Obviously, the team hasn't had practice. Just came out of surgery, but hopefully we get some practice in today. We're like really confident as a team. Prod's been my teammate, throughout the years, like every now and again, and Wiz has been my best mate ever since Badance. And I feel like the chemistry's there, and we're really adaptable, and I think we can fry out.
I can't wait to see it on stage. Of course, so far you are number 2 in total with 34.6 points. There you go. Not too bad. Thank you very much, OK, for joining us. For those, back to the studio.
And thank you for that, Milaj. Oki, the winner of the last game we just watched, game number 4. Also, give him his flowers where flowers are due. Second place in game number 2. Nice to hear from Oki. Curious to hear more of that surgery story, though. But the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone will continue when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Adventures bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease won't stand a chance. With new Clear Men, powered by triple formula technology. To eliminate dandruff, itch, and grease, gives you 8 hours of freshness and 100% dandruff-free hair. New Clear Men, 0% dandruff, 100% confidence.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone. 4 games down, 2 more to go. And in fact, we're about to reintroduce Group B to play C to finish off the night, the end of solos, before we join back into group play tomorrow. Hey, let's bring in our casters. I'm excited to get this game going, so let's get it going for the final 2 games of the day.
Yeah, we have to have a talk, all right, friends? Now, Seymour, I'm not going to let you get away with just throwing strays at me while we're on break and stuff. And normally I would be tight about something like that, but I don't know if things get more tight than your pants. So here we go. We've got groups B and C. You liked that one, didn't you? To get things finished off here. And I think the big news is, again, Vision sets the bar. He's got top kills, and of course his averages are incredible. That's got to be the new metric for us to look at.
Yeah, he's absolutely blowing everything out of the water. Average kills across the entire set of players that we have here is 4.1 kills per map. He is bringing in over 13 kills per map. That is just setting a ridiculous bar that so many people have to chase. There are, of course, people here that have only played 2 games. They were warming up into this, and they got to figure out a couple more things through this. We've got a couple of people to talk about in terms of like how they're performing, but Vision is the star man at this moment.
Absolutely the case. And, you know, other side of that is not just the total kills, but the score that he brings to his team for the side of Guild Esports. 44 points, 44.8 for being specific, which is pretty much leaps and bounds ahead of the majority of everyone else who finished her Group A, with the only exception actually being Oki, who just won that last map. So there is this balance all of a sudden of needing to talk about where do we want to see the total kills versus how do you play for placement. We've seen both sides. Vision getting a lot of kills, Oki doing great with placement.
No, 100%, and I think the desk there did a great job of breaking that down on how, you know, some of these players are going out there and picking up big kills, sure, but then they're getting eliminated in, like, you know, the mid-20s. It's just not enough to really make that multiplier count. Whereas, you know, Oki speaks there a bit about how, you know, once he picked up a certain amount of kills, he decided to play it a certain way and perhaps played more patiently, focused more on those end-game power positions, and that's exactly what you got to be doing. You want at least that 1.7, I feel, that multiplier to come on through that top 5 positioning. 2 times, of course, would be a huge bonus, but I feel like if you're sitting outside that top 5 pretty much every game, you're just not picking up the score that your squad requires.
So outside of the players from Group A, keeping an eye on players that still have to finish off these last 2 games, I think the easy transition is to talk about Smith. You know, he's still sitting near the top of the leaderboard overall, 22 total kills, and the squad is looking like it very well may pull the top overall seed for Twisted Minds. They're currently at the top of the leaderboard at 77.2, and with Smith still able to play and Knight still warming up, it feels like Twisted Minds are going to be our heavy favorite to try to finish off this solo stage.
No, 100%. I mean, Smith nearly triple the average amount of kills that most of the people are picking up. Knight is above it, despite the fact that it feels like we haven't seen the full go-go Knight that we were expecting thus far. Maybe a little bit of nerves coming into this, maybe just a little bit of warming up. And then Aiden also putting up considerable figures. We're going to see more of both of those players throughout this one.
Indeed the case, and just to keep bringing it up, the team that you don't see on that overall rankings at the moment, Team Falcons. Shifty still has 2 games to play, and in this is Biffle. So if you're really trying to track down the quote-unquote tournament favorites, keep your eye on the kill feed for those 2 names as we're dealing with our early drop situations, and a lot of action actually here towards the backside of the residential district.
Yeah, Living Quarters here seeing it's a fair lion's share of gunfights. Castillo has managed to get it down, but not a kill, and well, he's just going to try and rotate on off, give himself a bit of high ground gas, potentially forcing him into that spot, but looks like whoever he did down below has managed to pick themselves back on up and has potential company from a 4 if a player that spawns in just above him might land on top of him, so lots of things to consider right now. It looks like it might have been Biffle that Castillo brought down.
I think so, because it not is just Biffle in this area. You also saw that Knight had dropped on the other side of Living Quarters as well. So, you know, again, maybe an opportunity where they talk to us, but like, hey, you drop on one side, I drop on the other, and we just rotate around the island in counterclockwise form. So that could be a part of the strategy to try to get Falcons back in the running here.
Yes. Now, I know there's going to be people asking about all of that and like, how far can you go with the strategy? There is, you know, you can't collude. You can't sit there and be like, okay, you do this, you do that. If you and me are on the same team, brother, I'm going, look, I'm going over here, you go over there. If we see each other, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the case. See if the gloves get thrown or not. As the kill feed gets super active at the moment. Patsuka, we got to remember, had a great start when he was playing over, especially through the showers in our last game. Found a lot of kills, just could not quite crack into that top 5. So now it's just about, again, can you find those kills, but all of a sudden crack into that top 5, get yourself that big multiplier.
Well, I think Vitality start off slow. I spoke about them at the top of the show. They are my prediction for the event. I think that the great thing for them currently is that Engson got off to a really slow start. If anyone wants to start Slayer on this lineup, it is that guy. He impresses so much, especially in like 1v3, 1v2 situations. He seems to come out on top in a ridiculous amount of them. So when odds are stacked against him, when he goes back against the wall, he goes big. Can he put that on here through the rest of this and get his side a top seed for the remainder of this tournament?
And so far, top 5, because Steve-O did great. He had an unbelievably good first 4 games. He finds himself, I think, 20 total kills. So, again, he meets the metric in terms of how do you crack into not just the top 10, but possibly being a top overall seed as we look towards the trio group stage to continue forward after tonight. So lots of things to kind of keep our eye on here. Knight did get knocked down, so I know the Falcons fans inside the venue are probably not going to be very happy about that, but still plenty of time to come through. And interestingly enough, how about it? We swap over to Lenin, who does find one of our contenders for top overall leaders, as all of a sudden Smith has to find his way back into the game.
Yeah, that'll feel good for Lenin. A big play to pick up your first kill on through this. Lenin in particular, it feels like one of those kind of players who vibes well once his confidence gets flowing, once he gets going. He's one of those players that you know, you just want to see on that heater, because once he gets going, hits a different level. And we're just going to get a nice overview there of Method Sick. Interesting conversation around him. He's an ex-multiplayer player, then came over to play Warzone. He was the part of the top Spanish duo for a long time. Then he actually got a job offer to coach the Miami Heretics in the CDL. Goes over and works with them for a while, but gets an invite to the Esports World Cup, and of course reunites with his favorite Spanish duo.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about the Spanish community where they bond together in a lot of ways, because that Miami Heretics team, there was a lot of question on what they were going to do. They picked up a 5-man roster for the CDL, and they trusted Method 6 to try to put him together. But he's been able to kind of balance, juggle a little bit between both spaces, and still putting together a pretty decent performance here, all things told. And again, I've asked you before, if you were surprised that Breadman was sitting on top of a tower with a sniper rifle, I think that you hadn't been watching Warzone. So he finds himself up top again, and we track back over to Smith, who has 2 kills off of his recent respawn, just going to try to get the cash back up and get himself back into fighting form.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the Breadman conversation, by the way, although yes, it is unsurprising, I wonder if part of that comes into strategy, thinking long picture, big picture in this tournament. You know, okay, how do I feel around the water tower? There's a couple of things that I want to adjust throughout this. And when we start talking group stages and we start talking about those trios, is he going to feel that bit more comfortable than some of the people who are currently playing as the solo, as picking up the points for their seeding?
And for Cloud9 in particular, speaking on Breadman's squad, Foreign Jace is the player that was in Group A. He's done. He found 19 total kills. So again, he's right around the good metric. He's right in the conversation. So now it's just down to the rest of the team, which includes not just Bread, but also Joe. Those are the 2 that we're keeping our eye on. And Joe did not have a great start here overall. Just 5 total kills and an average placement of 34th. So he's having a little bit of a tough time here at the solos.
Yeah, the guy who calls himself the King of Schmovement. We've seen him do many, many wonderful things over the years, but we got to see a little bit better. And, well, Jackal does better. Hits the sniper, and actually sniper on sniper action, and manages to get the crack onto Bread, but it's going to back him on off. And if he's aware that's Bread, he should be aware he could well get counter-sniped. Breadman rarely backs down from one of these kind of fights. Jackal's going to look to the skies. Bralik coming back in, who he just picked off. Can he land the shot? There's almost like kid in a candy shop situation there. It's just too many things to try and pick out.
Yeah, which do you focus on? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the players in the parachute? Knight able to confirm himself another kill as we jump on board with Zeppa, who finds the other Falcons teammate in Biffle. And that's enough for Biffle to come out. I mean, talk about just a disappointment. I mean, it's hard to say. Again, it's solos. We don't want to necessarily change the narrative of the tournament, but I think the expectation was that not only are these guys collectively nasty, individually they're disgusting. So we're not quite getting that full yet.
No, you're right. Again, in the long-term things, it could just matter little, but it is concerning at the minute. You know, you look at Hisoka, for example. That is a man who is constantly lighting up kill feeds, constantly doing ridiculous things on the map, and he's currently averaging 3.25 kills per game, which is way below the average and definitely not their standard. And a man who we wanted to see a bit more of there on our screens for a moment, that was Knight, and it's whether or not he can turn into the player that Aiden and Z-Smith pick up, right? He's known as a Resurgence player, Resurgence content creator. Can he start to deliver through this map?
Yeah, but we are in that top 30, so the first multiplier is currently in play as more squad wipes are continuing to come through here through this second circle. So plenty of time on it. So positioning not a major concern yet, but I say that with some hesitation because Zix does find himself kind of gatekeeping the edge on this switchback path as we head back over in towards the headquarters position. Hasn't really gotten a tally on the players that are kind of on the fringe, though. So this is just about him trying to get into a better spot eventually when Circle 3 forces him to likely have to move deeper into the circle.
Yeah, just trying to get a quick look at that circle. Obviously, we don't have full map view at this point, but it looks like it will be center of map, so potentially around your prison. So a lot of squads then, a lot of these individuals, sorry, are going to start to consider whether or not to break in through bottom prison, trying to get up towards top prison, take control of these areas as players rotate up their hills or around the surrounding pathways, picking up some free kills. But obviously going to be hotly contested. And speaking of which, Cam's here suspects company nearby. Castillo will be directly underneath, and we do actually get that full map view, and it does look like actually the zone could pull slightly off towards Industry there, or maybe even somewhere in between.
It's always really an interesting conversation when you're trying to rotate early for center circle, because let's be honest, like as much as center circle often comes with the pedigree of you're winning, with all the elevation that comes out, it's like, well, you could be center circle, but if you find yourself on the low ground and it moves to the opposite side, you're kind of screwed. So this is all about, I think, at this point, especially with it still being a chance to respawn, what can you find on the fringe? Not a lot of players defaulting for the middle unless you're trying to win things like the entire POI of Industry.
No, you can see as well here, Rodrigo just trying to play on the edge of the map and around Chem. Climb the ladder here. He will have plenty of company inside, but it's another area, as you've just said there, with the verticality, so many players that can contest you from various regions. To try and lock it all down is difficult. Jackal here, by the way, on 210. Seems to be having a hell of a time atop Prison. And Breadman is just lurking over the other side. Potentially more sniper-on-sniper action here. Shift, lightens it up, pulls the trigger, does get the crack, but again, Breadman will check away.
Oh.
Thermite comes on out over from Smith. Doesn't connect though, so Smith backs on off.
Yeah, Smith's trying to get involved. He's just like, I see you guys. I'm not going to let you have this one-on-one battle forever, which it feels like it's been going on for forever. As we swap over to Rodrigo. Again, not bad at all there for him on 5 at the moment. Still playing on the outside of the circle as we're about to see it start to close on in. And I think the question here for Breadman is how much more does he find from this position and how long does he want to stay here? This feels like this is his strategy every time he drops into the map is get me on the water tower on the other side of Prison and let me just get to work on the scope.
100%. And oh, that was gorgeous. Finds the back of Clapper's skull. And Clapper will have an opportunity to come back on in, but Breadman will take a chunk of loot. And actually wants to play courtyard here, not going back up towards his water tower, potentially just considering a reposition. Lines up a couple more shots up towards top, but he's got to be careful and tense. We've just spoken about how important Prison could be here. From that rooftop, you are very much so exposed down there.
Respawn will close, so now every kill will be pretty final, and how about it? Just as soon as it happens, AJ able to take down Trevs and even has the Car 98 out and does see a player at range. Can't quite connect, and this is just about, yeah, let me see what Lukai can grab. Reset, no need to get too greedy. Still plenty of circle to play with.
Lukanas just trying to quietly make his way out somewhere. However, what I will say, he was on 1 kill. Doesn't matter what you pick up in terms of placement if you find 1 kill. It's one of those sayings that kind of exists around Warzone. Placements are something, kills are everything.
Yeah.
So he's got to pick that pace up if he's actually going to make an impact in this one. And just a lovely view here over Prison, and there's about 6 or 7 players just in camera shot right there.
Yeah, I think just kind of revisiting that conversation, you know, the difference between 1.7 and 2 times multiplier really doesn't feel terribly different, especially considering that this is just for seeding. So I think at the end of the day, especially as we start to get close to our next multiplier boost at the top 15, once you get in there, it's just like, okay, if I can find a kill, great. Otherwise, 1.7 will do more than enough. We don't have to win these lobbies to get good points.
You're right. Absolutely spot on. Jackal here, finally spotting a bit of bother and actually finds Cams, brings the Spaniard down, moves himself up to 11. And then sees Breadman yet again, and these two have been trading blows for a while now. Mostly Jackal onto Breadman, and he'll be frustrated if he doesn't finish that off anytime soon because the circle's actually going to push him towards it. Squeezes people in. Knight will pick up AJ and then starts to spot Elo, and oh, he's just not done enough. It's 1 bullet per player, surely. The problem is Elo will be able to use the gas to push Knight forward, and actually Knight disengages, finds himself a different route, and then Tommy actually finds Elo elsewhere, but I think the actual credit might go to Knight.
Hard to say. It was a bang-bang play without question. But regardless of it, tight moments, as Knight does, will finish off Rodrigo, who had been downed earlier. So it's a cross, and yep, both players will be wiped off the table. Breadman able to finish off Knight, who was down. So pretty much a 1-for-1 martyrdom trade right there between the two of those. The kill fit as we jump back over to Patsuka, who's putting together another nice mid-game, but cannot quite finish off Spit, who's on a bit of a slower game here. 4 kills, but this is where you expect him to start to get active.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, Circle is going to pull actually downhill. So a lot of players now going to rotate. You're going to see Smith here with potentially a lot of company. Jackal as well is stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Players above, if he heads downhill, there's likely going to be players lying in wait. And he's just trying to look on over. Zix just above him. Limax is already down in position, and Lucanas still hiding in the bottom of camp.
This isn't a comfortable position for Jackal, but he does have the ability to try to play for the circle rotation, but doesn't quite get into the right spot to deal with Zix. So that's now a couple eliminations properly owned up in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Breadman continuing to play with elevation, this time by way of the chopper, as he's just going to float above this and see Smith right below, starting to get to work, like we mentioned, already on 5 kills with a couple more nearby.
And one more kill gets you to that 1.7 times multiplier, that all-important metric that we've been talking about for these individuals. Smith just looking to take this fight and will pick up Lucanas. And again, we spoke about it. Can't be many kills for Lucanas. He gets himself to this point, doesn't even get the 1.7. Smith snaps yet again, trying to chase after this. Will actually pick up Limax as well, but then takes bullets. And it's actually going to be Tommy who finds him, 3 remaining.
And now it's just down to what does Breadman do? He's still floating around the helicopter up above. And if you're looking at this from Tommy or Stukic's position, who are the last 2 left on the ground, when does he drop on in? Tommy doesn't seem to care. He is the innovator of chopper strategy. So he knows what this is going to look like. Chopper starts to come through. Breadman trying to get himself back in, but he has been tagged and has to try to find a route through the gas. So far, so good. And Breadman's going to get the down, also has the read over towards Tommy. Knife finishes the kill. Tommy off the reset, up and over. Tommy able to win the 1v1. Breadman gave himself a heck of a look. But end all be all, Tommy gets the read, and again, he's the innovator of helicopter strats. He knows what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I knew exactly how to counterplay that. I honestly thought we had ourselves a highlight reel moment out of Bread. I'm not going to lie. He comes in off that chopper. I think he actually positions himself beautifully. He flies in through the back side of the gas there, away from the ongoing gunfight. The idea is to land, pick up all the information you need, and then finish off the gunfights that were ongoing. Finds himself the one, but Tommy just has that little bit too much gunny in him to lose that fight. And we've spoken a bit about Tommy, right? We're at the top of the pre-show. It's been a while since we probably brought him up, but showing that kind of experience that he has on land to just lock in and finish things off here. And I'm at 5.
And that's the thing is, you know, the conversation around Tommy has been so dynamic. Obviously, the conversations with TBE are long-standing, but even coming into Warzone, he boasted one of the longest competitive veterancies that we could have possibly built, just with his ability to play professionally when the CWL was around. So he brings that mindset, and when you put him into an environment, he's going to figure out how to best it. A prime example right there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the reason he was picked up, Jukes said in his interview, it's for that experience, but also because Jukes and Lenin look up to him as a hero because of how long he's been around, how much of a role model he has been for so many, especially European players in the scene. And you know, coming out big there, I think that's only going to do wonders for Al-Ula. They weren't necessarily in our top 3 conversation, but they weren't far away. I think, you know, Jukes has been putting on a little bit of a performance, especially that big map 1, of course. Lenin's been kind of putting up the averages, so for Tommy to go big here in 5, I think that lifts them up towards at least that top 5 conversation.
Yeah, Jukes is the one that is done for this squad from Group A, and he did put together good numbers. Like you mentioned, the win obviously kind of star-studded that whole narrative point. But, you know, Tommy, the ability to now turn that into a second win, is that may be our first group that has boasted 2 individuals finding themselves a Warzone win. So there is something to be said about it, as Tommy and Lenin are the last 2 remaining for that Al-Ula squad, like you said. That's just sitting right there at that top 5 mark, which is more than fine, I think, if you're looking at that for overall seeding.
Yeah, this is the thing. Obviously, the conversation right now is where are people going to end up with seeding? And, you know, the thing is, the way it works is seed 1, 2, 3, obviously go into the different groups, and then it comes back around. And if you're sitting in towards the top 5, not only does it give you confidence going in through the rest of the tournament, how you played individually, but it will give you a great seed as well. And just look at this here. Tommy actually does a lot of damage into Jukes. Breadman's landing there, gets the information, gets the cleanup. I love this from Tommy because he was clearly weak from the fight before, but just buys himself enough time and then just snap on the gunfight.
I'm pumped to see this from his point of view because, again, he gets the info that Breadman's over the top. I think he only has time to get the 2 plates in. Yeah, barely even gets the first. So that little bit of extra health gets him going. The smoke play for Breadman trying to extend the play, not going to work out. And, of course, you got to remember that he was tagged up pretty heavily, floating on in. So he didn't have a chance to reset his health pool at all either. So, ooh, exciting stuff here with just 1 more drop remaining. And I will say, I think Vision is still at the top of the overall kill leaderboard because the next closest would be Spit. He only had maybe 5-6 kills, and he needs to get, I think, 11 in total to at least match Vision.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity for that to change here still in our final game, but I think you're right. I think it currently goes Vision, then Oki, up and around those 40s. So, I mean, that's the bar for your top players currently. I think of the remaining players that we've got, I think we continue to focus on Smith and how he's been doing, and honestly, just continue to assess our players as we move on through into our final map.
The data is starting to flesh itself out. We're 2 nerds that love spreadsheets, so we're going to be digging into that. But before we can continue, we got to go to some bigger nerds that are finding themselves down on the analyst desk.
Way the tight pants comment, well, you'll notice Seymour's no longer up here, so you can thank yourself for that, Shift. We'll be having some words later. A great game number 5. One more game to go, but first we've got to recap because this was a tremendous game without certainty. Tommy, first place is huge for a number of reasons, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because a lot of the conversation around Alula, right, is Tommy coming in alongside Jukes and Lenin this event. We were talking about what he's going to do for the roster when they actually play as a trio. He's already doing a lot for the roster in the solos. He's given them their second win today. Obviously, we saw Jukes, I think it was game number 2 that he was able to take away. So the fact he's able to get another one, that's going to boost Alula all the way up the standing. This is going to be a really high seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's only solos, right? But I mean, if you have 2 of your members winning the solo games, I mean, that makes you look stronger going into group play trios, right? 2 and 3.
Right, and I mean, like, we were kind of just talking behind the scenes, like, just thinking about, like, the confidence level for that trio, like, coming into this for Tommy Jukes. We know that it's just been difficult, but you have got to feel the momentum from that. I mean, 2 wins, and, I mean, carrying into groups, plus going into LCTs, that's going to be such a good momentum factor for them.
Layers.
Layers.
Okay, we're talking a lot of layers here. Definitely going to help for World Series of Warzone LCQ, and it's going to help for, I think, days 2 and 3 as well. And maybe, hopefully, at least with this performance, they're not one of the bottom 8 teams, right, to not make it to day 4, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. Great game, though, overall. You know, Jackal is a player that we have to discuss here, Infinity. Jackal needed a big game. Why, and did he get it done?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? Because we were talking about, before we got into the game, right, let's start looking at the teams that are not having a good game. Or good day, excuse me. And we were talking about, you know, Huskers and Bralic. They're really low down on the scoreboard. So Jackal needed to come into this today, as well as Bralic, to be fair. He was also in the matchup, and have a good game. Boy, oh boy, did he. He was absolutely slaying out throughout the remainder of the game to the point where he got, I think it was 3rd, got all the way towards the final zone, and it was Bread, I think it was towards the end. I don't think he quite expected him. He was preoccupied with Tommy in the final zone. Jackal might well have taken the entire thing if Bread hadn't come and ruined it.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, because Jackal, you know, being a younger competitor, even with Bralic, a lot of conversation around that squad was like, okay, Huskers has the experience with Bralic and Jackal. I mean, well, will they perform on land? But for Jackal, that's huge. And I mean, looking at that in, I believe it was Z-Smith, they had that little engagement there at the end. Look at how much, and I was watching this, he could potentially clutch the situation, rotating down from prison, but there was so much work that Jackal had to do. He needed smokes to rotate, and he had that, but I believe it was Z-Smith that he came in contact with, and Z-Smith taking down Limax right there. I questioned that play because the circle was behind him. So I don't know if it was like he pushed forward, he got eliminated by Tommy, but I feel like Jackal, or Z-Smith could have potentially won this drop had he maybe just rotated back a little bit towards zone.
Man, it's just those little things.
Little
things, those moments. There's so much to process, especially in Rebirth, and so quickly you have to process it. The best could do it, and he still is one of the best, but it was just a tough spot to be in. Tommy in that moment, 1v1 against Breadman, he gets the job done, and I was kind of questioning myself, get it?
Yeah, I mean, like, we were talking about Bread doing so well, not just in Game 3, but in Game 4, the changing of the play style there, right? You know, the Bread that we know and love with the sniper rifle up top on the water tower. It is worth saying that we did see early on in that game, Bread do exactly the same thing, right? For the vast majority of the early game, he was up top there, getting the snipes once again on the water tower. But there is a little bit of a mixture of the play, right? Once you realize that position became a little bit untenable, he decided to move, and that's why you see him so late on in the circle. I mean, just the adaptation from Bread is why we still consider him one of the top players here in Warzone.
I was going to say, one of the things I've always loved about Bread is, like, he's always so cool, calm, collected. Obviously, we can't call him the hair god anymore, but he's still actually, you know what? We still can call him the hair god because it's still looking pretty good. But he's just so calm in these chaotic moments that you will see him thrive. And I mean, he's always said that, like, I'm not worried about it, mouse and keyboard. I'm not worried about it. I'm just doing my thing.
Still blows me away that he's mouse and keyboard. So many players have transferred over towards controllers. Very few still play on mouse and keyboard for various reasons, right? Not to get into the whole conversation. I'm not going to start that war. But unbelievable. Breadman, an incredible player. One more game to go. That's it for this solo play. The last chance to get points going into group play. Casters, I'm ready to get it started, so let's get it started for the final game of the day.
So glad, Taylor, that we have your permission, because I don't know if we could have managed without it. Nah, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be able to really cement, of course, who possibly the narrative shifts towards, especially if Falcons maybe continue to not find as many kills as we expect.
I mean, at the minute, it's just a baffling conversation because, again, there's so many conversations about, like, you know, this is solos, this is so different, but as 3 individuals, these are all players you would put your house on doing well in these events. And then Ahsoka averaging 3 kills per map. Biffle, slightly above that. Shifty, okay, 6.5 is above the average, but it's not exactly standout.
Yeah, and I think the thing, too, is, hey, does this change the perspective of, do individuals now take in different roles? Like, yo, I'm feeling it here on LAN. Let me go out and start to slay because, like we said, Vision may be one of them guys now all of a sudden. You can say the same thing about Smith, which, let's be honest, we've always said that about Smith. The guy is an absolute slayer, but it is one of those things that, okay, some players are feeling it a little bit more individually, especially here now that we're on LAN.
Well, I mean, we saw that interview earlier with Oki, right? And he was talking about, especially from a European point of view, not being on that ping feels crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They're turning up and they're involved in these 50-50 gunfights that previously would have been settled by 1 bullet, and they're thinking, oh, I feel myself here today. But apparently, a couple of our star players are not. But as we start to look towards map 6, let's set the stage just a little bit here, Shift. Let's talk about the kind of seeding position that we're looking at here. Currently standing, we would be looking at a top 3 of Twisted Minds, Guild, and Team Abwiz. And I don't think that will surprise us because of some of the performances that have come on out, but at the top of the show, I really wouldn't have put that 3 up there.
I think Twisted Minds was one that we had a question mark around because Knight coming into the picture as kind of the resurgence specialist, quote unquote, would that actually help this squad be a major contender? Because we know what, of course, what Aiden and Smith bring to the table, but what was Knight going to be able to do? And, well, at the moment, things are looking pretty darn good for them. On the other side, of course, Guild, that was my pick, actually, prediction-wise, to win the whole thing. So I'm feeling real saucy right now, getting on your EU banter. Love it.
Yeah, they are a fantastic squad, and definitely a side that I'm looking forward to seeing how they progress through this. It's Wars has been around for some time, always appears at the big tournaments, of course, but AJ and Vision, I think there was a couple of questions about how they would step up to things, but they're doing all right today. But map 6 underway. Biffle here, just trying to check out control centers, up against Crims, and gets slammed, quite frankly. Yes, Crims had the high ground. Biffle lands first bullets, though, and I think that kind of sums up just how their afternoon's going.
That is exactly what I was going to say. It's like, regardless of it being solos, that is a 1v1 that if you were to put those 2 players on paper and ask the community who wins it, 99.9% of people, besides Crims, pick Biffle to win that 1v1. Whether it be raw vanilla guns that you find on the ground or not, doesn't seem to make much of a difference in terms of what people think about what DS Biffle can bring to the table. So it just feels like it's been that kind of day so far for those boys.
Yeah, and it comes back to that conversation about pressure, about what's expected of them. You know, I asked Biffle in his interview, does winning this make you a dynasty? And he said it makes them pretty damn close with how good they are. Well, that is a lot of pressure. That is a big title to put on yourself. Crims here gonna have to deal with a mosquito drone, and will just about get out of the way, but it takes fall damage in the process. Cams will check back to try and see if he can fight this. Both players lacking information on each other right now. Crims is making all the noise. Cams doesn't spot him there. That's the card timing at its absolute finest as both players go their separate ways.
Yeah, Crims is on the reset, but you got to keep in mind that Cams isn't dealing with a whole bag of tricks here, so he's gonna keep looting. Still without an extra plate, so any battle could be a punishing one for Cams, and I think he's really respecting the fact that he is not in fighting form. And here's Crims right back in the action, and Cams, yeah, he's out of it. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, what you said there about the play is very important because Cams now has to back off. He has no choice. Meanwhile, Crims had 18 plates in the back pocket, so he can keep on coming. I just like this play from Crims to hit the buy station for me. You're finding yourself a couple of plates and trying to reset the situation. And, well, Breadman, he's back on his tower.
I mean, if there could have been some sort of like a bet the house that Breadman is going to be playing from high ground, I would have put all the real estate I own, which is not much, on that. So really smart stuff from Breadman, just casual, just trying to keep the scope hot here.
Looking out over the top of headquarters. J-Tech's going to take a lot of bullets, and I think that's actually from Skullface, unless there's a player in the tower there just over the top of him. Smoke will provide coverage. He is low on plates and needs to make the next gunfight or 2 work. We'll have company from player 9, you can see on your mini-map, but for now, just staying up. It's actually Shifty, another player that, you know, you put it on paper, you put a vote up on Twitter maybe, 1v1, who's winning that? But right now, you just can't back Shifty with how this afternoon's gone. Nadag finds Limax inside of prison, and we're still only missing 1 player. It feels like through the afternoon, these games have slowed down, Jip.
I agree. When we first got on through Game 4, there were 5 team wipes in the first circle, and then all of a sudden, everyone who had not died lasted until we had no more respawns remaining. So yeah, it definitely feels like there's been a little bit of a figuring out period, and especially now that they're in their last fourth and final drops for all these players of, okay, no reason to get too greedy early if things aren't going my way. Take your time, loot, find yourself a corner to work on, and then eventually maybe catch someone on rotation, which is essentially what Shifty has done here, just kind of continuing to play around Knight. That will confirm the elimination for his first so far in this final drop.
AJ make noise and baits with it, and will actually find a lot of damage onto Zix. He's trying to just cut off the rotation, and that is fantastic stuff. That is the AJ that we've been talking about coming into this tournament. Puts himself onto 4 kills and has complete control over this region. But the problem is for him, next circle will squeeze him uphill, and we know that Shifty is just looking at the back.
And he wants this badly. That will play. Okay, just a little hip fire through the door. Okay, why not? I'm telling you, some of the environment in any COD, it just feels like it's made out of paper mache. Smith in a little bit of trouble here. Whoa, where is he? Yeah, okay. Patsuka nearly threw that one away. Was just the sneeze away from falling, but able to lock in the shots, find the kill, and at least give himself a little bit of breathing room. Intex nearby seems to think that he may be able to come up, and we haven't said his name once yet, so this would be maybe a chance for him to start popping off a little bit.
He hasn't done much. Patsuka here suspects there are players arriving and finds a portable radar. That could be huge. That'll provide him with the information that he needs. Well, there's a fight going on here on the very outskirts of the map. Rodrigo up against Believe. Rodrigo's forced to back on off, but Believe going to use that as a moment to pop out of smoke and allow himself to rotate on off from the beach. And Rodrigo's lost Believe completely here. Who spots who first? Who gets the information? And it will be Believe with a huge pick there. He was basically back against the wall, sat down there on the edge of the map. Should have well and truly been picked off by Rodrigo, but counters that beautifully.
Patsuka, again, continuing to find ways in this stage 2-3 circles to find these kills. Smith, other side, just waiting for the proper time to jump on in and confirm. Important to note, Smith's on 2 kills. After we got through 5 total drops, Smith finds himself 3 in total, down from Vision in terms of total kills. So 1 more he'll tie, 2 more he will surpass as our current kill leader.
Which will be a hell of a story for Smith. He's had himself an up and down 2024. It felt like he got off to a great start, especially on Kazakhstan, and then unfortunately had a bout of illness, and it just never seemed to bounce back from there. And well, what it would be to come out here day 1 of the Esports World Cup as the overall kill leader.
And I think the thing about it too is, you know, again, him playing alongside Aiden, they're not playing with their normal third, where they had a really good time at the World Series of Warzone NA Finals, top 5. Nothing to scoff at whatsoever, but yeah, being able to really kind of establish that I'm here for real could be massive for him. Smith getting to work, just laying things down. Not quite able to find the final shots needed, but it's fine. Holger's got plenty of ammo.
Just get a little wider look here at our map view. Feels like we are getting, again, another relatively central circle, maybe slightly northern there. Sure. So, again, we're probably expecting a lot of people to be fighting over that central prison landmark, and Smith here going to find himself a UAV. Actually, has Bagel looking out over him, and sniper bullet whizzes over his head, and I think that's the right play.
Yep.
You do not want to be pushing yourself up a bottleneck into the scope of a sniper.
Yeah, window is closed for sure, especially with the smoke dissipating. Patsuka, the kill feed again. I'm telling you, man, there's something to keep an eye on here for the Spaniards, because Patsuka has played very well to this point. See if he can keep that up for the rest of the squad when they eventually find themselves in the overall group stage. But I gotta say, things that I'm seeing in the mid game have looked pretty darn decent. Smith in a little bit of trouble here, trying to climb the ramp back up towards the prison side, but overall, looks like he should be decently fine. And a lot of action here, actually, right over the top of Tommy, who's got people above him, around him, underneath him, all over the place.
Yeah, and it's an important couple of gunfights here as well, because the next circle is going to squeeze you and force you to rotate. So you want to make sure you're clearing this area as much as possible before you begin that rotation. Tommy's going to actually find Bagel, gets a lot of damage and a crack, but doesn't finish it off. Will actually get cracked himself, uses the stints, give himself that extra movement speed. He's up against Lenin, his teammate on teammate. It's Alula against Alula, and Lenin comes out on top. What do you do, though? You've got more company coming on through this backside. It's actually going to be Bagel around the corner, Raul as well, and the young man from the UK looking to lock in a couple of kills.
Yeah, Lennon's in a really good spot to try to finish this thing off. Smoke will be a bit of a deterrent. Bagel's just holding a corner. He's just playing pure COD timing. If someone crosses me, I hope I'm looking in the right way at the right time. That is all that is. As we head over in towards the actual cell area of the prison block, Smith still on 2, looking to, again, get 3 to tie Visions overall, or 4 to possibly take the overall kill spot leader.
Just breach and clearing. The one thing about this prison region, right? So many different places you can get shot from, especially here in solos. Trying to just press on through here as we get this wide shot. See, there's so many players. Zix takes damage. Plates will go in. But how does he get escape from here? He sees Believe below. I don't think Believe actually spots him, so that gives him an opportunity to escape. Does anyone actually chase after him here? The answer is no, but what he does find is some very valuable loot.
This is massive for him. He's got separation, he's got space, and now he is in absolutely prime form to get to the high ground. He could play on top of the rooftop if he wants to with all the loot he just kitted himself out with. So, could be an option for him as we start to close out this third circle. Believe working his way forward. Patsuka taken down as well in the same process as everyone's really trying to get to that top 30, which we do crack into. So again, that first multiplier step up now in play.
Smith here doing great work. He sets the C4 and he actually connects with it, but it's not going to do enough damage. It was a genius play. Bit 200 IQ, unfortunately. He just takes too much damage on the first peek from Zix, who then manages to chase on after and clean things up. But honestly, nearly a 2000 IQ from Smith, and showing why he is pushing for kill lead here.
And I think Smith just died a second and a half before respawns closed. So the timing, I was about to say, could have been ideal, but Prodigy does snipe him out of the sky. At least that would be the assumption with him dropping. So that's what, 3 kills. So he finds himself tied with Vision. Could be a possible overall tie as we depend on what happens with the overall score. And, well, we head back to Breadman. I feel like you could play like the girl from Ipanema right here. Just casual elevator music, Breadman getting to work on the sniper rifle.
I feel like that's exactly how he is most of the time. Just calm, casual, collected, doing his thing, doesn't really care about what's going on the map. He knows that he's good enough to do damage regardless. And actually spots Zep across, but doesn't have any timing there. Launches out a C4 to potentially pick up someone below. We're going to get a shot here of King AJ, who has to make a hellish rotation. And he's going to come up against Abwiz potentially here, and actually checks on off towards the right. But anytime you push uphill towards this prison, you are asking for trouble.
Yeah, and he just uses the smoke to say, I know someone's near that, I'm not going to bother. And now he actually, I think, hears the footsteps and confirms that he's been able to find Abwiz. Clean shots from King AJ. That gives him now 6 total kills, plus a little bit of breathing room as he finds himself into the next circle.
I think one of the scary things here, especially if you are a Guild fan, and as he checks away, that was a bit more scary. We'll come back to it, see if he survives. Well, what I was going to say is that he's actually lifting his average every single game. And again, the player that we spoke about, how good he can be, if he keeps on doing that, and he looks hot going into tomorrow's tournament.
The other part about this is, if I'm not mistaken, Twisted Minds have no more members on the field. And looking at the total scoreboard, Twisted Minds are at 108, Guild are at 95.9. So they have a huge opportunity here with the multiplier possibly getting into the top 5 to where they may actually take the #1 overall seed after all this is said and done.
Yeah, and what a statement that would be. I mean, we've harped on enough about the whole Falcons aren't performing conversation, but that opens up a window for everyone else. Speaking of which, we are down to our last 8. Circle closing here on 5th. Brolic trying to find AJ, who cooks a nade, tries to use it to cover his escape. And oh, if Brolic had hit that, that would have been something, but the Moors does not connect. AJ will escape. Guild continue to push for that top spot.
And this is a great position for Brolic to freely get into the next circle. So now this is about what can he find around the outsides before he has to give up the last remaining high ground onto this circle. AJ back up and over. Dealt with by the Binds for just a moment, but largely unaffected. Stukix just below. Smoke trying to get him on the way in the circle, and AJ is just going to try to hold it.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect play. You're essentially covered by the smoke that Stukix puts out as well. The problem is, because Stukix has been patient here, AJ has lost him entirely, but will step up, will spot him, and will actually take more damage as well. So he's got to confirm, and then he's got to get himself this in. No ticks left in the gas mask, so no opportunity to run out there, even though the zone pull will be towards him. Oh my god, AJ! What did you just do? I think there was actually damage in the back of Joe from Biffle as well, but the fact that he's still alive is a miracle, and hits the snipe as well. Brolic then cleans that on up. We're down to our final 4. AJ here looking to cement top spot for Guild Esports.
He needs to make a decision, though. The circle's going to rotate down, but you're going to give up high ground because of it, and he rotates right into Biffle, who's waiting for him. Now all of a sudden 8 kills for Biffle. A chance for him to possibly breathe a little bit of life into Team Falcons here late. Brolic also on the low ground with him. 3v3, Thermite's out, opening shots, gets the tag and the break, the clean follow-up. Now it's just down to Breadman again from the high ground. Can Biffle reset this long enough? No, he cannot. And Breadman, who saw victory slip through his fingers in one of the most remaining games, closes it out here. and that's got to be confidence boosted to finish in the top 3 2 straight maps in a row.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of confidence boosts that come on through, but definitely right about Breadman. Not only seeing out this map in particular, but also that his game plan's working. We keep making jokes about he's hitting the water tower, right? Just doing his thing, but to consistently place up towards the top here in solos, very, very difficult thing to do with everything that goes on the map. Get second in one, first in the other, showing why he is one of the best players in the world.
You want to really just cement it, notwithstanding this personal drop. He has the top overall average finish next to Smit and Jackal. They both find themselves top 8. He's 8.66 average placement. But with that first, I can already guarantee you, he's going to be the top average placer in this solos competition through 4 drops.
Which is impressive in itself, but also the fact that, again, he spoke in his interview about how when he comes into trios, when he's looking to provide support to Joel or Jace, he's going to play that water tower. He's going to look out over them from there. So, you know, whatever's working today, whatever's going on today, it just reinforces that their game plan and that they have a game plan for starters is a great thing looking forward to the rest of this tournament.
Lots of things for us to consider in terms of narrative talking points. Puckett's having a good time.
Absolutely.
Of course he is. If there's one thing you can guarantee about MLG Puckett, he's going to have a lot of fun, no matter where he finds himself. So it's always a pleasure to see him enjoying it from the comfort of course, these incredible stage here with STC. What you got?
I think one of the things to talk about is the fact that Biffle comes in second there, right? I think that was a little bit of a reminder at the end. Okay, this hasn't been our day, but there's not a chance that I'm going out quietly. Just puts himself in a spot there where he picks up quite a few kills. I mean, I think the actual kill he picks up on AJ, I don't think he has much in the way of loot. He just plays very intelligently around the zone that he has. So, you know, the fact that he's picking up second there, it hasn't been their afternoon for sure. We're still expecting them to be very strong in this tournament.
Yep.
I think right at the end there, that'll be okay, I think we figured out the jitters.
Yeah, I think especially from the individual standpoint, right? I mean, again, not to just throw it away, because seeding, I think, will matter.
Yes,
I think it gets you into a position to where you don't have to fight up against other very strong teams. Falcons, I don't think, really care who they play up against, so the seeding conversation is not nearly as important to them as it is to some of our, well, I don't want to say bubble teams, but squads that could be labeled as maybe a dark horse, maybe an upset candidate. So when you deal with teams like Cloud9, teams like Guild, this has been great news for them overall, but like you mentioned, a little bit of a, okay, let's not sweat too much here, guys, if you're a Falcons squad member.
Oh, definitely not. And we do get to see the end of this. And Breadman just pushes up on the third party, right? It is classic Warzone. It's essentially trying to repeat what he did in the last map, except this time he actually wins the gunfight and just about sees it off. The fact that Biffle nearly actually manages to snap onto that one as well just shows you the level of technical skill he brings to these.
It's a little bit of extra finesse, my man. We're going to see a lot of that when we get to trios as well, just bait and switching for your squad mates, things of the nature. But when you can do it in a 1v everyone situation, it always feels a little bit better. For Breadman, like I said, we don't know for sure, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he is probably going to be our best average placer. Just comes down to what the final standings eventually will look like, and I know some people who are best at breaking that down, and it's Taylor and the gang down in the analyst studio.
Right, a big compliment from Shift. I like it. He's coming around to us, which is always a great thing. No, seriously, Enigma Shift, great cast from all the casters. Incredible job today. So many good moments. And, man, Breadman, I can't believe it. Getting the job done after second place from last game. Breadman, he's dynamic.
Look, I mean, C9, they're showing up today, especially towards the end there. Breadman, he starts off with a little bit of a dynamic day, you know, playing really well, making it far, taking down Shifty in a big 1v1, moves back over to the water tower with the sniper, and we're like, okay, you're slowing down a bit. I don't know if this is the play, but you're getting kills. And as soon as he leaves the tower in the last game, he comes out with a win on the day. And I think that is huge for C9 because although, you know, C9, there's a ton of good teams here. We see that a win is going to shoot them up in the standings for this solo day, and they were not far from the top.
Yeah, and I mean, to top with that, with C9 being that such a big talking point, I mean, what? We haven't seen C9 in Call of Duty, at least for me. I think it was, what, IW 2016? Been a while, right? 2017. For them, I was actually telling production, hold on. Breadman's on this side, like you had mentioned, but Jolo was on the other side playing, right? And that one little chase moment where we're like, okay, he's going, and then, the turn on happened, but he did get tagged up. You saw, I believe it was King AJ and Biffle that shot at him, so it's like, ooh, maybe that chase. It could have been a 1v1 C9 moment, though. How awesome would that have been?
It would have been awesome, but also for King AJ, let's talk about how awesome he was. Infinity, I could not believe the plays he was making.
Yeah, absolutely. Little turn on towards the end as well. Why the hell not, you know? Look, at the start of the day, I promised a King AJ special. He delivered a full 5-course meal. This guy is insane. King AJ, I'm glad he finally proved that towards the end. Just brilliant play, getting so deep into the final game is exactly what that team wants.
100%. King AJ, been waiting for him to wake up for a little bit. He's been a conversation, of course, as you would expect him to be, but that was by far his best performance. I mean, that turn-on was just absolutely nasty. I believe on Shifty, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been...
It was on...
No, that was Joe. That was Joe.
Oh, was it on Joe?
Yes,
it was on Joe.
But there was a Biffle also tagged there too as well. So
I see.
I think
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Regardless, though, I'm glad to see Team Falcons also wake up with Biffle getting second place, right? So Team Falcons looking pretty good. Hey, but I am ready to find out who our MVP is. In fact, let's head over to the STC Arena for the Sony MVP interview.
Welcome back to the main stage, where some of you at home might be thinking, Banks, why are you standing there with Smith from Twisted Minds? We've already spoken to him today on the main stage. Well, I can tell you that, congratulations, Smith, you are today's MVP for the solos. What an incredible show out from yourself. I got to ask you, let's first of all talk about the confidence boost. Has that definitely boosted your confidence going into tomorrow's matches?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, the first game of the day, my first time playing on the setups, I dropped 14 kills in the lobby with some of the best players in the world. And I feel like that was just a massive confidence boost right there. And I'm so excited for tomorrow.
But of course, you don't want to go into tomorrow overconfident or get too aggro. So is there an element of like reining it in, but the shot is on?
It's a lot different tomorrow. I mean, solos is, you got to win your ones. Maybe you get third-partied. But tomorrow's a different story. You get one knock. They got their two teammates sliding in on you. You definitely can't be overconfident tomorrow. You got to make sure, you just play everything the right way.
You mentioned, that you got 14 kills in one of those maps. I even heard some of the people talking backstage, like, how did he even get into 14 engagements and come out alive? Now, what was the secret, man? What were you finding? Were you hanging around the fringes?
Yeah, honestly, I was just hanging out near the ocean, and everyone was just landing back to get their resurgence timer up so that they could spawn back in, and I was just waiting for them to come off the ocean and hop back up on the shore, and I was just farming out there.
That's the secret, guys. And lastly, you were talking with Puckett earlier. You mentioned that actually you've been adapting really well to this setup while other people might have been struggling. Do you feel like that's been one of your strengths and maybe the rest of your team's strengths, just adapting on the fly?
Yeah, I think my, thought going into this whole thing was just, everyone else is going to be, not used to it. I mean, obviously I wasn't, but I just wanted to play with my full confidence right off rip. And it definitely helped out because towards the back end, those last couple matches, you could definitely tell people were figuring.
Since on getting MVP, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm going to spud you. And for now, we're going to go back to the studio to round out day 1 of our Warzone competition.
All right, Barney, thank you for that. Our Sony MVP, Z Smith. We had to rack our brains because there were so many great plays and players today, but Z Smith was the one that came to mind off the rip. We said we got to pick him. Infinity, Z Smith, such a good day.
Yeah, I mean, look, just right from the rip, we could tell that Smith was going to have a good day, right? And a big reason why was his early, the final game was a little bit slow. He was not the only one to do that.
Even on the opposite levels, you can catch people coming in from the sky. And I mean, Seymour, we were talking about some of these teams that hey, we haven't really seen a lot of them, but they're picking, as you mentioned, Brody, a lot of early games. And SGP Syndicate, they were what, 6, at least top 10 on the leaderboard at one point.
They were high up on the leaderboard, and it's interesting because the only time you really notice these players is when Dongy really got into that early RN resurgence and how really anybody could do anything at any time here, and it's really important to notice those teams who might not be popping off but still are doing good and coasting.
Yeah, I think today again was a great day to not only see how these individuals would play, because look, it's not easy to come into a trio event and then all of a sudden now you got to play solos, right? But obviously they were up to the task for it. Some stood out more than others, but regardless, it was a nice little test to see what we could be expecting moving forward to the group stages taking place tomorrow as well as day number 3. An important job for the teams moving forward for the next 2 days, obviously, to not be one of those bottom 8 teams, to move forward, to be top 14, to move into the final day and potentially be champions. Big surprises, 6 games. We had a lot of winners. For me, Jukes. That was the most special one. Jukes, just such a great guy, a good player. He's had his struggles throughout World Series of Warzone. He's had his struggles, at least this year in general, when it comes to Urzikstan now, obviously coming on the rebirth, but he seems confident, more confident than ever. He's back on the main stage, and he's feeling great. Seymour, I actually want to go to you to start off the rip. Jukes was my favorite out of the others. Maybe one stands out to you?
I mean, I think Twisted Minds was kind of a favorite of mine today.
Yeah.
You saw not only, you know, Z-Smith having his moments, Aiden early on, we were kind of hyping up Falcons. Then we see Aiden taking down Hisoka all the way in game number 1. And then we're bringing Knight into the mix as well. And people are talking about, you know, maybe Knight might not be the best competitor here, you know, rated a little bit lower to the rest. At least the players were thinking that. I wasn't thinking that whatsoever. As he comes out, he puts on a show here. And Twisted Minds are, you know, an organization who are picking up some good players to carry on their legacy from winning the Gamers 8 last year as well. So looking to be back-to-backs as organization champions here.
Well, I tell you what, man, even though I was happy to see Jukes win, I was happy to see Breadman pop off as much as he was. He shaved off the hair, but it didn't affect the gun skill, clearly. Puck gets on stage with Breadman. Let's hear what Breadman had to say.
I'm here with the winner of the final game of the night, Breadman. When we saw you up top, everyone knew the game was basically over. Talk me through the strategy. What did you do to those kids?
I played super slow today. Obviously, it's Resurgence, so you see a lot of people flying around, but being on the keys, I'm super reserved, and it paid off. Had 2 second places and that last game dub, so it was nice.
I was talking to Biffle. He was saying, dude, it's so frustrating. Everyone's playing so ratty. They're just listening for me to move by, and then they're attacking. You seem to just be picking them off one by one. Did you have a favorite victim of the night?
Ooh, I don't know, but I can say shout out to Bravik for absolutely slamming me in the 3rd game. I'm not going to slam anyone else, but Bravik went crazy on me, bro.
Bravik, we're coming for you tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
All right, and finally, tell me about tomorrow. So the seeding is over. Cloud9 looking very strong going into day 2. How's the squad going to perform?
I'm super excited for tomorrow. Obviously, it's a lot different than today, and there wasn't really anything on the line today, no nerves. So tomorrow's going to be pretty big, and we're going to lean into dropping 7 of the team. So we're not going to be one of those, I promise.
True or false, haircut gives you a buff?
True.
Get the Breadman buff. Get cleaned up. We'll see you then.
Get the Breadman buff, get cleaned up. I did my best, but I don't know if it's still helping me out whenever it comes to my Warzone fingers. But regardless, man, Brawlic apparently slammed him in game number 3. I guess that gave him the motivation dream to perform as well as he did on the back end in the final 2 maps.
Hey, I believe it, because Brawlic is good. I mean, I see that guy sometimes even playing solo squads, and he'll pick up like 50, 60. Like, he is a slayer. But for Cloud9, super impressed by them. I mean, you asked what was the most impressive team here today. I mean, all of us, we know we hyped up Falcons, but for Cloud9, that's consistent. 2 second places and then a first?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, how about our other rosters? Right, Fnatic was getting a lot, at least when it came to the threat meter. I know they weren't getting a lot of respect. Fnatic, I mean, how well did they do today?
Honestly, it's kind of funny because we didn't really see them, like, whatsoever today, really. Like, beyond a couple of moments where maybe they appeared on screen, they were actually pretty quiet. But the fact of the matter is, they actually still ended up pretty high on our seedings at the end of the day.
Sure.
So, yeah, low on the threat level meter, man, that's a load of rubbish. These guys, they're still looking pretty good. And I think when they come together tomorrow for the group stages, that's when they will be at their best.
Yeah.
I am excited to see what Skullface is going to do, because when they let that guy fly, he is going to do some serious damage.
Man, Skullface, he wasn't the strongest today. Let's not kid ourselves, right? But he's still one of my favorite players to watch. He is, in fact, one of the most winning solo players. Solo YOLO, right? Global Finals last year. There was another event where he ended up taking 2 solo YOLOs during the 4 that were played. So, without a doubt, like, I know he has the potential to go big. Today wasn't his day, but come group play, see more Skullface, he's going to be dangerous on the battlefield.
It's a totally different game style when we're going into our day 2, 3, and 4 solos. You're good, you're bad, you have your bad days, and you just got to shake it off going into the rest. Some people might also be thinking that the solos don't really have too much impact going into those days, but for Fnatic, it's good that they got up top inside the leaderboards, making sure that into day number 2, they don't have to really worry about facing those top teams that were hot today. Make sure that they don't have to play against, maybe your Breadmans who are playing good, or your Twisted Minds who are really consistent all through the day. And, to see everybody kind of starting off a little slower at the beginning, getting used to being here at the EWC, and then towards the end, we had so many highlight plays. It just goes to show that into the group stage, when we get to the trios, everybody's back into their full form. It is going to level up the gameplay.
I think just to add to that too, like kind of like what we were talking about, exactly what you mean. Like they're getting used to it, they're getting situated, and I mean, when you're in that spot to where you're not in your usual environment, I think what Danjo mentioned, that you're not in your own setup. It takes some time to get used to it. So for some of these players, they might be like, you know what, we got the jitters out. We're not really worried. Maybe we have like 10th, 11th seed, whatever. Like, but tomorrow it's going to be all locked in. Passion's going to be there, and it's going to be super, super intense.
Well, hey, it's been a long day. A lot of matches been played, 6 in fact. Let's take a look at our overall rankings. Who ended up being up top? And Z Smith, no surprise there, taking over first, Seymour.
Yeah, Z-Smith all the way at the top, 32 eliminations. So not quite the elimination leader towards the end. You can see that, you know, Patsuga actually with 35 in at number 4. It really kind of brought it back for Team Vitality. And you can see that even in those top 5 players in general, it is narrow margins between players on multiple different teams.
Well, let's call this for what it is, right? I mean, we're not necessarily looking at specific standings, but actual team standings. What does this do for seedings? And we look at a roster like Guild. I hyped them up at the beginning of the day. We wanted to see big performances out of the likes of Vision and SR, and that's exactly what we got to see. Big performances. Wars as well down at 28th. Honestly, the fact that he's a little bit lower down the scoreboard alongside his teammates doesn't really matter too much. The fact you've got 2 in the top 6 is pretty big.
Yeah, no, it's crazy too, because I mean, even like when we were talking about our fantasy team, Raul and Hisoka both 34th to 37th, but Dongi, I mean, Donwick was higher than them, right? So I mean, some of these standings, again, I'm sure these players are not like super taken aback by it, but regardless, they had some time to get used to their surroundings. But for Foreign Jace, I mean, that's pretty good for Cloud9, right? 27th, 19 eliminations, but you got to think about those 2 wins, the win that Breadman had plus the second places. That's just really good for them and the overall standing.
Good stuff overall. I think it was a great day. Again, getting used to the setups. You're not playing at home anymore. Maybe you didn't have LAN experience. Now you do. A bit of a soft, kind of come up again for the group play happening on day 2 and 3. It was a wonderful day from each and every one of us. I leave it to you for your final words. Seymour, we start with you.
It was a magical day. Jay shows up for Destroy, comes out with a win. I don't think you can write a better story than that. I'm sure that it's going to be a memory for Jay for the rest of his life.
Memory indeed, and a memory working with you. Infinity, what are your final words before we get out of here?
You know how to butter me up, honestly. Yeah, it's just been such a wonderful day of Warzone, but the fact that this is only the beginning, I think, is the most promising thing for me. This was just the solo seedings day. When we get the teams together tomorrow, I think that is just what's so exciting. I can't wait.
That's it, and Dream, always great to be alongside you. Give me your final words before we get out of here.
I honestly, it's just been a great day. I love seeing these players just fight against adversity, and I mean for Oki, who just said coming out of surgery and just being able to come out with a win, that is insane. I love that passion. Guys, it's just going to get more intense, and I'm just happy to be here with y'all.
That's right. It's only going to get more intense and better each and every day, and you do not want to miss out because we have 3 more days to go. That was just solo seeding. Now the real work begins tomorrow when we go into the group stages. The teams coming back together looking to dominate one or the other. It's going to be a lot of fun. 5 p.m. tomorrow, local time. Don't you miss out. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
adventures bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease won't stand a chance. With new Clear Men, powered by triple formula technology. To eliminate dandruff, itch, and grease, gives you 8 hours of freshness and 100% dandruff-free hair. New Clear Men, 0% dandruff, 100% confidence.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين